Hello, and welcome to episode 87 of Gamers of Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Chesson, and joining me this week is the other Spark on the pod. He's still on that long and winding road with Beatles Rock Band, playing it 8 days a week, and he never lets me down. It's Blackpool Sergeant Pepper, Mr. Darren Whitten.
Hello, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Do you know what? I started writing that, and I could just fit in so many Beatles songs, but it started getting cheesy, so I stopped.
Wow. Yeah, you had the restraint that I didn't have last week.
Cuckoo Cuckoo. Hello, sir. How you doing? How's your week been?
Very good. Gaming 8 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good. Actually, it's funny you should say that, because one, talking about the Beatles reference, I'm still playing a bit of Rock Band, but on Saturday morning, I think it was, got up in the morning, was chatting to Sam, and I don't know why, but I looked for some Beatles tunes on YouTube to show him like what the Beatles look like. And it showed the Beatles playing on top of the roof, which they do in Rock Band as well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I had this amazing idea. The sun was shining. And after breakfast, much to Claire's chagrin, I said, let's play Rock Band out in the garden.
Oh my goodness.
It'll be just like we will pretend we're on the Apple building. It'll be amazing. Claire was like, no. And Sam went, yay. And I thought, right, outvoted, babe. So I then proceeded to dismantle the TV out of the dining room. I think it's a 32, quite light. So I unplugged that. I thought, is this going to work? I thought it might, So I got the long extension cable out, dragged that outside, put the TV, leaned it up on a garden chair.
Yeah.
Got the 360 out there, put that down on the floor, plugged that into the extension, plugged the TV in, wired it all up, took the drums outside, 2 guitars.
Oh my God.
And we did it, man, with sunglasses on. It was about 11:30 that we did this, and the sun was shining nicely, and we played Rock Band. I didn't plug in any external speakers, just used the TV speaker. It wasn't too bad, so I don't think the neighbours would have hated us too much. And we did a few tunes, stood in the garden playing Beatles Rock Band. It was awesome.
That's so cool too. Please tell me you were like sockless or sitting on like maybe a rug or something. That would be like so Beatles.
Oh, to be so zen. No, we were just stood there. Sam was sat with what did I give him to sit on? I got his little his little 6-year-old sized tub chair from inside. Put that on the grass, and me and Claire were stood up. Then we couldn't see the telly because the sun was shining. We had to adjust the brightness. And then we had our sunglasses on, me and Claire, and we're like, din, 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 din. And it was fun, man. Sam was on the drums in the middle of us. It was really good.
Oh my God. If only you'd have taken pictures of that. That was just so cool.
Yeah, it really was fun. I don't think Claire was into it, but I did. The thing of it was, I thought, wow, if I have a barbecue, I could just get this kit out now. It wasn't that bad to do it. The wireless connection hit the 360 because I was playing Beatles Rock Band on 360. And I thought, I could just do this. If I have a barbecue, I might set that up and just leave it there for people to pick up and play. I think it could be really good fun. Outside, it's a thrill about doing it gaming outside. Wow. It's the Switch. It's taken over my mind. Got a game outside. I'd like to take the 4K telly outside. Who says I can't play Horizon Zero Dawn on the move? Strapping a 65-inch telly to my back. That day also, we went out for lunch, and this was joke of the week, and you know it because I sent you a picture of it, but it's tickled me pink. So we went out to this nice place to eat, and Claire had the Calamity Gammon. The Calamity Gammon. She got the gammon. She ordered gammon, and it came. And she sort of commented on the size of it. She went, that's a big piece of gammon. She was dead happy. And I was like, wow, that looks really nice, And then I was like, look, it's Calamity Gammon. And I just thought that was brilliant. And then I took a picture and sent it to you. But
that made me chuckle for days.
I love it, Calamity Gammon. It's made me want gammon more.
Yes.
And it's made me want to think of other meals that could be twinned with computers, games. But don't worry, I haven't done any thinking about that, so I haven't got any others. But if I think of any, I'll let you know. But Calamity Gammon, man, that's awesome.
That was just so funny. That made me chuckle so much. And same with thee. I was in M&S on Sunday, and I was like, "Oh, what do I fancy?" I was like, "Oh, I really fancy gammon now." And I was like, "Damn you!" It was just
not just gammon, Anthony, mate. It's Calamity Gammon.
It needed to be big. It needed to be big, but
got to be. Yeah, actually, those little wimpy pieces that are in a circle that you get in the supermarket cannot be branded under the Calamity Gammon name, can they?
No,
they're not up to it.
They're more like one of the bosses that you get to before.
Yeah, just a minion. A mini ham. Doesn't really work. What else? I got my Vive back, mate.
You have?
Yeah, I got my HMD back from repair on Friday, and they only took it on the Monday. It got picked up from the UPS store on the Monday, apparently. I turned it round and got it back to me. I got it Friday morning, so it was only away for a few days.
Wow,
and yeah, and it works, and it was free.
Superb. And it's all okay.
Yeah.
It's all okay. The spec has gone.
Yeah, the spec has gone. It's perfectly like new again. What's the date today? 12th of April. So I've got like 4 days till my warranty runs out.
Right.
The spec's gone. It's more of a blemishy smear than just a spec. It was, but even a spec would have been bad. But yeah, it's fixed, and it was free. And as I said last week, the experience has been very pleasant. And I thought that was great. So I went on to the Vive subreddit and posted my first ever Reddit post, just basically saying what I thought about the service. Cause I sort of started it off saying I was actually rather worried about sending off my Vive, basically because of a lot of bad reports I've read on this subreddit. So I've just had this experience, and I wanted to give you my thoughts, and then I just listed out the experience and sort of cut a long story short. Basically said, if you've got a Vive that's playing up, you might have read all these reports, but I've had a great experience. So just treat the guys with courtesy, send it off, follow the instructions, and, hopefully maybe they've turned a corner or something like that, but this has been fantastic. And I got a few responses from some of the guys that said, yeah, me too, I've had a great experience recently as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Well done for starting that. That's really cool. Because
I think, like we said, people that have had a bad experience, they're more likely to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it affected me, I thought it was only right having a good experience to sort of roll up my sleeves and report that to the community. So I hope that's done a little bit of good out there. And if anyone else was on the fence about sending it back, thinking, oh, maybe it's going to be more hassle than it's worth, hopefully that just, G them up, like you did to me, get me to send it back. Yeah, so it's just my left Joy-Con now that needs to go back. So I'm saving that till after the bank holiday weekend.
So you haven't sent that back yet? You're still kind of sitting very forward on your sofa at the moment.
Yeah, it's really... Oh, man. I don't want to send it back because I want to play Zelda. It's really hard. It's really hard. But, yeah, I'm going to wait until... Because I don't think I haven't checked, but I don't think they'll be working over... Like, we've got a big holiday coming up in the UK this weekend for Easter. I don't think they'll be working doing the turnarounds. So, I'm going to send it back on Tuesday.
Right.
And then I'll be
get past the weekend and then just off to the post office.
Yeah. So that's my week of note for the pod, mate. The Vive's brilliant and back and awesome. The Joy-Con is yet to go, but I'll get that sent off. Calamity Gammon and and Rock Band. Yeah,
that's really cool. That's a good week. I like that. That's not bad.
What have you been up to, mate?
Not much, actually. A bit of a quiet one. I was doing like lots of gardening over the weekend. The sun was out, so I started feeling bad about my weeds in my, my front and back garden. So I kind of spent a lot. I'll tell you what, as you get older, you start aching in really weird places after about 10 hours of gardening. I was out there all day Saturday. I got up with the dawn. I got up and I just kind of. I stuck on my headphones, stuck on a couple of podcasts, and just kind of started going. Stopped for a little bit during the day, for lunch and stuff, and then went straight back out. And I was like, on Sunday morning, I went to get out of bed, and I was so aching. It was just like, I'm not supposed to ache this much just by doing a spot gardening, but it was good fun. But one thing that we have been doing is Nicola and I are still kind of plugging away. I don't mean that in a bad way, in a negative way, but we're still watching Iron Fist on Netflix. We took a bit of a break because Grace and Frankie hit Netflix, and we absolutely love Grace and Frankie. It's such a great show on Netflix, and season 3 of that just kind of dropped, so we kind of detoured away from Iron Fist to watch Grace and Frankie, and that was just it was such a great show. But we got back to Iron Fist, and the great thing about Iron Fist on Netflix is it's showing in kind of 4K HDR, and there was this one episode, and I was talking to a chap at work today about it, but there's this one episode, which is episode 7, so even if you're not interested, because I know it's been getting kind of lukewarm responses, but I'm really enjoying it. We're really kind of, it has that kind of hooks in us where we're like, let's watch another episode, but episode 7 kind of is just it's a great episode. It's almost like a little self-contained episode. And there were bits in there that just, this will now be this and kind of Planet Earth 2 will now be the thing that I show people to kind of show off HDR. So if someone says to me, what's HDR, what's 4K, there's bits in this episode that are just stunning. There was this one bit where he's walking into this warehouse, and behind him is all black. So obviously it's playing to the kind of HDR-ness, because this is black, this is black, and in this dark street there's all these neon signs, and these neon signs were just popping so much. They were really, like, even Nicola said, like, wow, look at that. And I was like, oh yes, it's like, yeah. And so then he kind of goes into this courtyard where, again, it's quite dark, but there's all these lanterns at the top, and he just stands there for a moment, kind of in this courtyard with these lanterns, and I had to rewind it because it was so sharp and so amazing that I was like, that's exactly, that's 4K HDR right there. That really is a stunning piece of filming, and it was absolutely superb.
Wow. So was it the locations or just the set pieces that really made it pop? Well, because it's all the series is done in 4K HDR, isn't it?
Absolutely, it kind of, sometimes I've noticed I notice some noise sometimes on white because it's streaming. But this, for some reason, this episode, it was the location. It always looks stunning. The picture looks absolutely incredible, especially at the start. These Marvel Netflix shows have really good opening sequences, and that looks incredible in 4K.
What's your favourite opening sequence to a Marvel?
It's got to be Daredevil.
You love Daredevil, don't you?
I do.
I knew you'd say Daredevil.
I got it. But this one, you got Iron Fist doing some moves, doing some kung fu moves, and it's very similar to, you remember that Street Fighter 5 trailer that we got years ago, where every move he had looked like it had a brush stroke after it.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
It's similar to that. So as he's kind of moving his arms around, and I'm doing it right now, I should stay close to the mic.
You need to get this on video.
Yeah, you're moaning at me. Your audio's all over the place. So no, I'll stay close, and so he's doing that, and it just looks so good. But it was the darkness, it was the neon, it was the bright lights, and then he's standing there, and it just all just kind of popped, and it just looked absolutely fantastic. And it was really nice just to kind of sit there and go, that's just amazing. That is absolutely stunning. So I was enjoying those 4K visuals kind of washing over me.
Oh yeah, if someone comes around, you can demo with this, and this you can truly feel confident when you say, "Behold, 4K HDR!
Look at this! I'll have curtains that I have to open up and like ta-da!" But it's that. I mean, I must admit, Andy, because I've got a 4K Blu-ray player, I bought Planet Earth 2, and Planet Earth 2 is stunning.
I need to get hold of that. Actually, I want to test my Xbox One S player.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, Planet Earth was stunning on kind of a HD TV anyway, but in 4K Blu-ray with HDR, it really, there's this one episode where there's big eagles, and just incredible. You just sit there, and it's like you have all of. It's like it's a portal to this world. It's almost, as I've said a couple of times, it's like glassesless 3D. That's what it feels like. But it's just the detail, the color, the colors of their beaks, and it's just it was stunning. It was absolutely stunning.
Wow. Have you tried it on both? Because you've got a dedicated, haven't you, Blu-ray HD, and you've got your Xbox One S. Have you tried it on both and seen if you could discern any difference?
No, because my problem about that is that I would have to turn it off, then fire up then put it in the Xbox and do all that. And probably by the time I switch it over and then choose that scene, I probably forgot. My mind's eye has forgotten what it looked like. So
I was bad enough on the HDR update on First Light. It was before I got a 4K TV, but like when you change the setting, it blinks off. You got to go to the menu, change the setting, and it takes a few seconds. Then you go back to the scene, and I was like, this is really difficult to discern. So I know what you mean. It's hard, isn't it? Once the TV goes off, you need two side by side to really see the difference, don't you?
You really do, but it's absolutely stunning, and it's just incredible. I was really, really enjoying that.
Cool.
So that's kind of my week. So what have you been playing?
I've been playing Zelda and Persona 5.
Right.
I'll talk about Zelda briefly for how many weeks? I'll be carrying on from you. Because I can't imagine I'll finish this. Yeah, I can't imagine feeling this just any time soon. I love it, and especially with my Joy-Con going back. Grr. That's the reason I don't want to send it back.
Yeah,
I want to be able to play blooming Zelda. I got Zelda out because Sam's been on half term, or Easter holidays, I think it's called, last week and this week. So I've been quite busy with him, and I had to take him. Well, not I had to take him. I took him to some of these kids things that you take children to, where they run about and have fun on bouncy castles and things. And I took him to this particular one today, and I thought, right, he's off playing with his friends. I'll play my Switch. This is brilliant, because I'll be quite happy for like the 2 hours or whatever it is that we'll be there. This is what the Switch is made for. Mm-hmm. So I thought, this is class. So I got it out. I'm not bothered that I'm playing a Switch. Everyone's on the phones. I think this is miles better than being on a phone, reading the same websites over and over again. Once you've read all this stuff that you're interested in, it's like you're just looking at your phone for the heck of it, I think. So anyway, I was on my Switch.
So do you feel conscious about that? Like getting that out?
No.
Whipping it out in public? Do you feel conscious about that?
Man, did I whip this out?
Excuse me, I whipped this because I was blazing saddles. Because I was on the train on Monday and I had no qualms to just I got on the train and then got on the tube. And as soon as I got on the tube, reached into my bag, opened up the case, whipped out the Switch, and then just started playing it and then put it back in my bag. And when I got to my stop, I was really happy doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm proud. I think it's awesome. But I don't know if there is a stigma about, grown men getting a Switch out, in public and stuff, or just gaming, or confessing to gaming. You see, I'm such a gamer and grown up with it, as yourself, that I'm quite a proud gamer, and I just talk about it as if it's as natural as anything. It's like, yeah, I'm a gamer, so what?
So anyway, you whipped it out.
I whipped it out. And I was having fun with it, but all of a sudden I got surrounded by the kids.
All right,
because children don't have any tact. Adults will pretend to ignore me, even if they might say, "Yeah, that's all right" or something. But they'll leave me in peace. If they can see I'm concentrating, they'll leave me in peace. Children don't have that, so they just sort of hover for like 2 seconds, and it's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "I'm just playing this." "What is it? What's that you're doing? What is it?" "Can I have a go?" "There you go. Can I have a go?" And I'm quite nice and stuff, so I let one of them have a go. And then, so one little lad was playing it, and he was having a good time, and then I'm trying to tell him how to play it, and then I've got a queue and a little gathering, and then Sam comes along. He says, "Well, can I have a go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but you can play it whenever you want, Sam." And then I'm just kind of like, some of the mums and dads are looking at me, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, the kids are here to run about on bouncy castles, not play games. And I felt dead guilty. And I had to say, actually, I said, all right, well, just have a last go, and then I think I'm going to put it away, because it's time to put it away now, because you've all got to go on the bouncy castles, really. And that meant I couldn't play it.
Oh, damn those kids.
I had to lead by example and sit there not playing on my Switch. I was really unhappy about it, because I thought I had got this planned. I thought, this is demon. I've got like 2 hours here. As long as Sam's okay, because it's a closed environment, it can't get out, It's like, and I just thought, this is brilliant. I got one eye on my Switch, and everything's cool. But no, I couldn't do it. The children ruined it for me, because they would rather play the Switch than run about. It was a shame. But anyway, Zelda's amazing. The only thing I'm finding difficult, and you might be able to tell me if I'm doing this wrong, is I find it hard to run and jump, do a running jump, because for me the run button's at the top, like the X, I think it is. And the jump button is the B one at the bottom. So I can't.
The jump button's at the top, isn't it? Jump button's the X at the top.
Oh,
the other way around.
But even if it's the other way round, then, because I think maybe I reversed them, because I've got jump at the bottom, because I like jump at the bottom, because in the options it gives you a choice of switching them.
Of course, because there was a new patch that came out, wasn't there, that gave you that option, because that wasn't available to start off with.
Oh, was it not?
No.
Oh, okay. So ever since I've had it, I switched it straight away, because I wanted jump at the bottom. But even if jump was at the top, well, so can you do a running jump easily? Because I'd be used to it be the button to the sort of right or the left of, or if jump was at the bottom, you'd run with, say, red. You'd run with the button to the right or the left of the 4 buttons, rather than holding the top button and trying to jump with the bottom button, or holding the bottom button to run and using the top button to jump. Or do you not need it? What's your advice?
I don't really need it. I mean, I do run and dive off of a cliff, obviously, or sail off of a cliff. Jump and attack, I do a lot.
But don't you have to let go of run to do the jump? Because I find that I have to let go of jump. Let go of run to do the jump, and I sort of want to do a running jump, unless when you let go he does run for a little bit longer, which would give you the that moment to do a jump control. That's just a little thing
stamina left, but so you can just do that little bit of a jump. No, I can't say I've done a lot of kind of running and jumping. Like I say, I've done jump and attack, jumping off of a cliff, diving off a cliff, but not really kind of like, I don't know why you would have done a run and jump.
I do running and jumping as much as I can. I don't know, it must be some affliction I've got. If I'm running towards an edge, I like to dash, keep running, not slow down, not recover my stamina wheel, but I want to keep running and then do a jump as part of that run. I think it's more graceful. But to do it, I have to sort of contort my fingers and use sort of my index finger on one and my forefinger on the other. So I do this sort of fingers above the button. It's all right. I can do it. I worked it out. But I just thought, I don't know whether they could have made it any better anyway, because it's really convenient to have the attack button where it is. And what's the other one? What's the B button? The A button.
Shield. No,
no, it's not shield. It doesn't matter anyway. When you're playing it, it just works, doesn't it?
It does.
If I had the pad in my hand, I could do it with my eyes shut. So I've been really enjoying Zelda. I got up to a place called Eventide Island. Have you discovered this island?
I think I have, yes.
Did you do it?
What, the shrine?
It's a shrine, but it's not one shrine. Like usually on a shrine, you go inside, don't you? And it's like you're in a temple or a shrine, and you solve a puzzle. But this is all set on the island. And when you land on it, it strips you of all your equipment and says, right, if you can...
No, I haven't been here.
Oh, wow. Well, I landed on this island called Eventide Island. I won't say where it is. And when I landed on it, it said, whoa, that ghostly voice said, give you a little speech, but basically what it did was took all your equipment.
No way.
And it says what you've got to do is you've got to go on this island and find 3 orbs and put them in 3... like keyhole, like you drop the orbs onto the panels on the floor, and you've got to do that on this island. It's like a whole adventure of its own, and that's taken me ages to do it because it was really hard, and I only had 3 hearts. It'd probably be easier with more hearts.
Where is it?
I don't want to. Is it a spoiler to say it? It's when I was. Let me think. I was far south, right, and there's a shrine on an island, a very small island in the sea. You know the beach area?
Yes.
There's the telescope guy, and then you come south, and there's a beach around there, and there's a mini quest to kill the monsters around the beach. Yeah. Now, on that beach in the distance, there's a shrine, so you have to swim to it.
Right.
And when you do that shrine, I think that only after you've done the shrine, but I'm not sure. But after I came out, after completing that shrine, there was one of those boats with a sail on the island, and a cocoa leaf next to it, or whatever it's called. And in the distance, I saw another island, and I could see it on the map. And so I thought I'll go and explore that. Like you do. I thought, look at that in the distance. I'll go there because it looked interesting, which is the beauty of Zelda. And I got there, and it was when I stepped on the island. It said, up to now, you've relied on your equipment for everything you've done. Let's see the real you or something. And it said, I'm going to take all your equipment. If you complete the challenge of the island, you'll get everything back.
Wow.
And I absolutely loved it. It took me ages to do it. It was really hard because you've got nothing. It's like being a castaway. And I said to Claire, I just said, this game, if Zelda was made up of challenges like this, I'd love it. I said, this is like a game of its own within Zelda. It's fantastic. So I died and tried again, and like you're working it out. It's like, well, crikey, I haven't got anything, because the first time I tried it, I just got attacked and I had no weapons. So I sort of had to sneak, found a weapon, and then you look round, and you've really got to use what you've learned in Zelda. And it's all sort of very concentrated on this small island. You keep your powers, like your magnet and your freezing and stuff and all that. You keep your runes, I mean. But yeah, you just have this adventure, and you've got your mission. And if you want to, you can leave as well. If you don't want to do it, you can just transport off to another point on the map and forget it. But yeah, you can go to this island, and basically it's sort of the challenge of the island, and it pits your wits against the island, and it's just really good. And there's 3. Let me think about this. 3 quite different challenges. That the first bit, you see, and you don't even know that. You just go in any direction, and as you explore the island, you see there's 3 challenging things to do, and it's awesome.
Wow.
It's awesome, mate. And the way to do... I wish I could speak more about one of the things, but it was very different than anything I've done in the game so far, involving a great big monster.
Wow.
But it wasn't just a battle. It was something where you've got to think about how to approach it, and you can approach it without destroying him. Or you could take him on head on, but he's really difficult.
That's so cool. I'm going to do that on my commute tomorrow. After the pod, I'm going to fire up the Switch and get to Eventide Island, and then that's what I'll do tomorrow.
Oh, we could talk about it then. That'll be really good.
That's so cool. That just sounds so... Because I thought there's another island where there's like a big circle, and it's like a never-ending circle, and you have to... There's like a shrine there, and I thought you were talking about that, but this is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. I haven't sort of read up on it or anything, but it's brilliant. It was really brilliant. So it's like a shrine. I'm not sure if... Yeah, I think you get a spirit orb for it, so it is kind of a shrine.
Yes.
But it's an overland thing. It's really good. Yeah. Oh, and I did my first Divine Beast as well. Off the back of Eventide Island, I hiked my way to Zora's Domain. That's a long old road. I mean, there may be a way that you don't have to. I followed the road, but I bet you don't have to. But it's really rainy, so you might not be able to climb up to sort of skip it. But I bet there's so many ways to approach everything, isn't there?
Yes. Did you do it on horseback, or did you just run?
Oh, I forgot about the horse. I forgot about the horse. Yeah, I just ran through I just ran through the whole thing.
Right.
And got stopped by electric baddies and things like that.
Yeah,
but that was really good. So that was kind of, I think maybe my first legitimate quest, really.
That's really cool. What did you think of the whole kind of dungeon and then boss of the Divine Beast? What did you think of that?
I loved it. I loved it because it stumped me completely. And I nearly got in touch with you because I was getting confounded, and I was thinking, I was like, typical Zelda. Because I don't know, I don't know if you find the puzzles easy, but I find with Zelda, historically they always stump me, and I was just stood there in a couple of the rooms in the Divine Beast, just thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? And I was like following the wrong thing and stuff like that. But then when it clicked, I was like, of course. Like we've said before, and once I sort of had this idea, I could try that, and I was like, yes, that will work.
Yes.
And then once I worked out that one thing worked, the rest of it was quite quick, actually.
Right.
But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I loved the fact that it confounded me. Then I loved the fact that it made me feel really clever when I worked it out. And I just loved that it was both the in and the outside of the Divine Beast that I used to complete the beast, if that makes sense to you.
Yes. And also manipulating the beast as well. I think that's kind of because it was so funny. I was sitting next to Nicola. She was playing it, so I was sitting next to Nicola. I think I might have been playing Zelda as well. And she was like in her kind of first Divine Beast, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And then she was getting frustrated. And I was like, well, why don't you look at the map? And she kind of looked at the map. She goes, why am I looking at the map? I was like, look at the map, because I don't want to tell her, because she will get annoyed at me if I just go do this, do that. And then she went, oh yeah, I can move that, and then she realised that she could move the trunk, and she was like, oh yeah, I could do that, and that was just really interesting. And I find myself doing that. So if I'm playing something and I look up at the big TV and she's playing Zelda, and she's trying to do maybe a shrine, I start humming. I was like, and she's like, what? You know how to fix this, don't you? You know how to, it's really, and I have to stop it. And I found myself just doing it. It was almost like I'm dying to tell her. But so I just, it turns into a hum, and it's really hilarious. It's really funny. So.
It's I mean, I think that map thing is pretty near the knuckle, man. I reckon you're on the verge of deleting a save. Because I'd have been like, you just ruined that, because now I've worked it out, but you did it. You have to be like Dungeon Master and give really cryptic riddles. Nicola, well.
Well, I actually did that. There was one shrine, and it was like to get into this shrine. It was a shrine quest. So I did that. I gave a really cryptic, but she kind of got it. And I kept going, just watch this and watch what, and then she was kind of there. She was like, right, I see. and felt clever on her own rather than me telling her.
It's got to be that, hasn't it? So it's got to be. You'd have to let her get to the clue as part of a puzzle.
Yes.
The sky is blue. You'll hear a sound. In the map, the solution's found. Something like that.
I should just do that every time.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. It'd be dead. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Just dungeon chessing.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, talking about Zelda, kind of keeping up the Zelda thing, I've now finished in very big air quotes. I have completed. I have mastered the Calamity Gammon.
The restaurant the other night.
Yes,
did you get it free if you finished it?
Ginormous pineapple ring. So I kind of on Saturday. No, yeah, it was Saturday. So on Saturday, I was doing some quests. I unlocked all of the map. And then I unlocked something in the game, and I found a place that just was like, suddenly I had two things that I thought, both of these things together kind of will make this a lot easier. I now know how I can attack the castle. So off I went and attacked the castle, and rightly so. These things just made it a lot easier. It wasn't taxing to take on the castle. And then I got to the front door of kind of where the Calamity Gammon is. And it was probably about, 1:30, and I was so tired, and my eyes were closing. I'd done lots of DIY, I'd done lots of gardening on Saturday, and my eyes were closing. I was like, I want to play this, I want to finish it. So I just kind of turned off my Switch, I went to bed, but then as soon as I got up in the morning, the first thing that I did was just grab my Switch, got a coffee, grabbed my Switch, went back to bed, and just tackled the Ganon, the final boss, and just had a blast kind of doing it, and it was just really cool.
Oh wow! Was it wistful at the end? Were you sort of partly sad?
I was really sad. I was really sad that I didn't capture the screen that both James and friend of the show Manny had captured when they finished the game. I was like, right, because it comes up, says like completed that quest, and I was like, it was all kind of very whispery, and I was like, it's bound to kind of go solid at some point. I'm waiting. I had my finger paused, and then it went, and I was like, damn it! I've played all of this and I've lost that bit. But yeah, it was. But the good news is, I haven't stopped playing Zelda. Because the bad news was when I finished it, it went well done, and in the bottom left-hand corner, it says that I have completed 15.6% of the game.
My goodness me. But you were still armed and ready for the end, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Because you said it... Just to interrupt a second, those two things that you said made it easier?
Yes.
Did the game direct you... Did the story direct you through those things, or did you just sort of find them by roaming about and exploring and finding your own adventures? Found it by myself. I think there's potentially quests that take you there, but I think it was kind of a side quest, not a shrine quest or a main quest. It was a side quest, and I think I ignored it, and I think that's kind of where my percentage is low. I haven't done a lot of side quests. I've done lots of shrine quests, but I haven't. I think I've only got 2 more shrine quests to do, but I haven't done a lot of side quests. So. Okay.
So I think that's why my percentage is just so low.
Did you say how many hours you'd done?
Yeah, I think it's 85 hours.
Oh, right, about the same as James then, that. I think James had done about 80 hours, hadn't he?
Yeah.
I was saying he's rushed it, so you've rushed it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was
rushed
so funny.
It 80 hours.
Yeah, Nicola was in stitches. Like when I said, she goes, "What's your percentage?" And I was like 15.6. She was like, "Oh God, you're so terrible at games." I was like, "Leave me alone," because she's doing everything, And
she's going to be playing this like in 2022.
Absolutely, she'll just be finishing it just as the next one comes out. So she laughed at me kind of doing that, but I was just like, right, I'm going to continue playing. I had a trip up to Manchester on Monday, so I continued playing it on the train, as I was saying, on the tube, because now I'm just, even though, I've done the boss, I'm now addicted to finding shrines. So shrines, and not so much the cocoa seeds, but the Koroko seeds, it's more of the shrines. I'm addicted to finding these shrines, and so I haven't used any guides yet, or any kind of, I know IGN have a interactive shrine map, and Stuart was saying that there's a book as well. There's a Zelda book that he has that has a big pull-out map of all the shrines.
Wow.
But I hope you can't take that on the train, So I haven't got that. Right. I'm just happy, just kind of doing quests and doing some side quests. Like say, I had some shrine quests that I needed to mop up, so I did those. But I'm still loving it. I'm just still loving it. And now you've told me about this island. I got to go and do that as well. This is just so cool.
How many hearts have you got? I think you said last week you had 14 or something.
Oh no, God! I've got 2 rows now. I'm onto the second row of hearts. One thing I did find, I don't know if you've come across it. It's not a big spoiler. So it's almost a tip. Was I found these little kind of mystical, ghostly rabbit things. They're kind of all around the map. You find them every now and then. And one tip to find them is if you see a shooting star come down from the sky and land and hit the ground, mark it on your map because they'll be there. So when a shooting star lands on the ground, if you mark it with your map and then go there, you'll see. You have to go quite quietly because they will run, they will dart. But these kind of little mystical, kind of little ghostly rabbit things are, if you hit them with an arrow, or as I did accidentally, a bomb arrow, they just shower you with rupees. So I was getting like blue, purple, red, all just kind of coming. It was pooping these things, It was like, of course, yeah, exactly. Of course, I just hit it with a bomb arrow, and it just and it came, and it just left all of these rupees that you could then just kind of mop up.
Wow, that's so cool. But I saw a shooting star for the first time the other day.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there was like hills or trees blocking my view, so it went, and I couldn't tell where it landed.
Right.
And I was like, I've read something about this in one of the tips in a loading screen, but I just thought, well, I'm never going to find it now, so I didn't bother chasing it. But yeah, there's so much to it, isn't there? And so when you carry on, can you carry on with like that it's all sunny and the castle's all fine and you can still roam about, or do you go pre Ganon defeat?
Yeah,
and you play from there.
I think James said last week, what you do is you go back to your last save. So I basically completed the game, beat Ganon, and then I just went back to outside the castle. The castle's still, I can still go. I can go and do it again if I wanted. And I just have a star by my save, which says I've completed it.
Yeah, James did say that actually. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Same as Horizon Zero Dawn. That does the same, and probably many other games.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. So. Still happy then? Still happy with Zelda?
Still loving it.
So much to do.
Especially now you've told me about this island.
I wonder if there's more islands like that.
Indeed, that's what I'm thinking.
You'll be wind-waking your way around the coast of the main map.
But it does. But like I say, I think the thing that's spurring me now is that I've got some shrines to do. I've got a couple of shrine quests that I need to unearth. Literally, and I need and there's some shrines. There's lots of shrines that I need to find. So. I'll tell you one thing that I did find, and Nicola and I had a bit of a chuckle about it on Sunday when we were talking about it, how much we miss the pop-up notification. The pop-up that you get with an achievement.
Yeah. I was just about to say, actually, that achievements would be great as well for when you finished it. But just a side thing. Yeah, go on.
Because like Nicola did something the other day. Like I can't remember what she did. She did something. She went, if that was on Xbox, I'd get an achievement for that. We're putting achievements into the game. Like obviously defeating the different divine beasts would have been one, and there was something else that she did, and she was like, that would have been an achievement, that sort of stuff.
Imagine if you could, if they implemented something where like Nicola does that. And a bit like Xbox Record that, so you say, right, you press a button instead of sharing it or recording it. What it does is it freezes that. It's an achievement button, and it sort of takes into account what she's just done, and then she can give the achievement a name, and then that goes out there into the community and gets like up to the server, and then if other people do it, they could unlock Nicola's achievement. That'd be well cool.
Like build your own achievement type thing.
Yeah, community achievements. A bit like the races in Forza, you can make your own challenges.
Yeah.
You can sort of do that in Zelda. That'd be awesome.
That'd be so cool. I mean, and my last tip, one that I found, which I found quite helpful in a couple of bosses or a couple of areas that were packed with enemies, was if you fire a bomb arrow or a fire arrow and you set a light to the grass, while the grass is burning, because that's what happens, while the grass is burning, you actually get an updrift. So you can then jump into the flame and then activate your paraglider, and it will actually take you up.
And
And then obviously you can then do the aiming, which then slows down time, and then you can then just go pop, 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 and just take out all of the enemies. And and I've done that so many times. Suddenly there's because I've got lots of, as you can tell, I've got lots of bomb and flame arrows, and I I fired it, and I love the fact that things are I love the fact that things are burning, but I love the fact that the environment all catches fire, and then suddenly I saw the lines kind of going up, the air, so I just kind of jumped. Yeah, exactly. So I just jumped into it, activated my paraglider, and up I went.
Pilot wings.
Yeah, exactly. And it really helped because sometimes you have Bokokins on multi-level outposts, so it really helps just kind of going up and maybe firing something at one of those TNT barrels.
That's awesome, man. I do love the shrines you were talking about as well. Every single one has been a pleasure to play. A little bit like the Divine Beast. It's like one puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't come across one that I haven't really liked. I just think they're just so enjoyable to play. Just really, really good to confound you. You know, they've all got a little thing they're going to teach you. It's like each shrine's a little tip in itself, isn't it?
It really is. Each one is just kind of like, remember that thing we taught you? Right, now use it in this, and just shows you how you can use all of those runes and things like that to kind of in the bigger world as well, doesn't it? It reminds you that you have a magnet, or it reminds you that you can stop time and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So what else have you been playing?
Persona 5.
Awesome. How much more time have you put into it?
Not as much as I'd have liked, thanks to Zelda. This is going to be the benefit of sending my Joy-Con back, is that I'm going to concentrate on Persona 5. I made a conscious effort the last couple of nights to not play Zelda when Sam had gone to bed, and to play Persona instead. So I played Persona 5. And it's just so different to anything I played. It almost makes me, or has made me feel like kind of thinking, I can't be bothered, if you know what I mean. It's like, because I've got to get myself sunk into this whole world that's so different, and because obviously I'm sort of sunk into a Zelda's world, it makes it harder to split myself, as well as splitting my time, because I've got myself quite invested into Hyrule. But I sort of just thought, come on, Daz, let's see what this game's about. So I've been playing it a little bit more. I don't know how many hours I put into it yet, but it's last night. So unlike Zelda, where it's took 10 minutes, and I say to Claire, this is something special, it takes longer than that for Persona, I would say, for somebody that's never played Persona before. Now, the lovers of Persona probably love it from the get-go, but there's so much to learn in this game. It's just like, I'm still essentially learning. It's still just feeding me information of how this works and what you can do and how this works. But it's doing it in a good way. You know, I'm still enjoying and progressing through the story as it's happening. But I've only just, after quite a number of hours, been made free to sort of do what I want to do.
Right.
But I was also almost sort of hesitant. I was kind of like, well, what do I do? Because it's an open world game. You can explore the city. You can work on friendships. So you can explore around the city. You can work on making friendships. You can make things, you can go to school, you can do all sorts of things, you can get a job. And all of these things, as far as I can see, will give you boosts, will level you up in different ways. Okay, like if you sit at your desk making lockpicks, that'll level up your proficiency. If you make friendships, that'll work on your, I think, confidant skill. I think that might be what it's called. And each of these skills obviously yields benefits by getting these skills up. But you've only got, whenever you're working on a skill, time's passing.
Right. And
the game gives you these stories. The first bit that I'm on, I presume there's more of these, is that, you know the area, you've been in that dungeon, haven't you, the palace?
Yes.
Okay, well, the leader of that palace, this is the palace is the personification, hence Persona. And it's hence Persona for so many other reasons as well, but I'll just say that. Is the personification of this teacher's mind. This teacher's a massive, like, nightmare, abusive guy in the school. So ultimately, you need to steal his heart from the palace of his, that's been constructed from his twisted mind. Okay, But once you sort of get to that stage, it says, well, you've got to do it by this date. So it runs through a normal calendar. So you think you start the game on like the 4th of April or something, or the 1st of April. I'm on the 18th of April now, and it's just sort of opened up a little bit. And it sort of says you've got to do it by the 2nd of May, or really the end of April, because I think it's a weekend or something. So really by the end of April, you've got to have completed that palace or took it down, otherwise it's game over. So this is where I'm sort of confused, because I think the nature of the game is to explore the friendships and all the different nuances within it. Obviously, they're there to be explored and enjoyed, but at the same time, you've got that deadline as well.
Right.
So I'm going to have a little bit, because what I did last night was basically I was in the palace and I was just working my way through the dungeon, thinking, right, I'll get to the end. It was bigger than I expected. It was massive, this place. I was like looking for chests. At the same time, I was learning combat. It was explaining how I could add more personas to my persona list. Your character can basically, he's a bit like he's not like a Pokemon master. In the game Persona, the characters all have one persona. Okay, and persona is a personification of sort of their inner desire or their inner strength or something like that comes out like a summon beast in Final Fantasy to be used to attack in the battles. But your persona, the main character, he's got a talent, and he can actually have more than one persona and swap between them. So you can, and all the enemies that you fight in the dungeons, you can sort of, if you're about to defeat them, you can get in a chat with them, and if you appease them, then they will become a persona for you. So you can collect personas in the same way that you may collect Pokemon. And so then the more personas you've got, the more options you've got in battle, because the more personas you've got, the more elemental attacks you'll have, for instance, or the more healing powers you'd have, and things like that, or buffs. So it makes sense to have as many personas as you can. So you can collect all these personas, but then also I found out another way that you can fuse personas together to make new personas at a higher level. Mm-hmm. But you can't make personas that are a higher level than you are yourself, so there's an incentive to level yourself up so you can get higher level personas to fight, and then pick up more high level personas to fuse to make higher level personas when you're higher level. Mm-hmm. So yeah. And it was at this stage that I started to think, wow, I like this. So yeah, I'm starting to get quite into it, and we talked before about the stylization. I really love it, and just getting this glimpse into, as much as it's just a game, but I think it tries to give a kind of, while not accurate, an idea of what it would be like to be a kid going to school in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And I really like that, that for me, because I'd love to go to Japan. It's an ambition of mine that I'll probably never do. It's great to have that sort of window in.
Yes.
So it's beautiful, and that was something I liked about Yakuza as well, Yakuza 0. So I'm really loving it. So as I say, it's beautiful. It's not. If you go in there expecting the control, you've mentioned it yourself, the control of Horizon Zero Dawn or Zelda, you're not going to get that. The control is quite floaty. It's a bit awkward to control, to be honest. But I'm giving that a pass at the moment, because I know that this game's about the story, the strategy of the battles, and the stuff. So let's say that's 2%. It's like there's Zelda completion. That's probably 2%. All this other stuff that I haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
So I'm being it's not that. It's not exactly patience. It's just that because of Zelda, I'd be a lot further in if it wasn't for Zelda. So I'm probably still at the tip of the iceberg. But I broke that. How can I say it? I broke that feeling that maybe I'd give up. Probably, if it wasn't the night before, it was definitely last night. All of a sudden, I was like, wow, the story's got its hooks into me.
That's awesome.
And that's probably only because I've been playing it in such a fragmented way. You need to play a game like that, don't you? For a little while. You can't just play it in 5 minutes and stop. And that's the thing. So, like tonight, I'll probably play a bit more Persona. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm going to not embark on anything big on Zelda until I get my Joy-Con back, which will give me this Persona time. But yeah, I'm really liking it. It's sold really well as well, like 1.5 million copies have sold, which I think is a record in the West.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
But it doesn't make me automatically love it or anything. But it means people must be liking it. So I'm going to carry on, and I imagine as the weeks go by, probably by next week I'll have some some more to say about it, more tangible, like whether it's like an amazing game or not. Because at the moment, it's an interesting game that looks beautiful, but I can't tell you whether it's an amazing game or not. Do you know what I mean? For me, it just seems good, but I've not played it enough to know. But it's enjoyable what I played. That's it, and that's it for me this week. It's just been Zelda and Persona.
Nice. That's really cool. Well, I mean, for me, I started playing, obviously with Zelda kind of finished, I was looking to play something else. Obviously, I'm still playing Zelda while I'm travelling and kind of in bed and stuff, but I was looking for something else to play, and obviously Yooka-Laylee. Yooka-Laylee came out yesterday. As we're recording, it came out yesterday. So I'd already bought it on Xbox One, so I could have a look at that toy box.
Yeah,
and have a play of it. So I downloaded that and kind of downloaded that and continued and started playing kind of Yooka-Laylee. And I was. It's really interesting because this is a game that I'm going to really enjoy. You know, how much did I play last night? Probably about 4 hours last night. So I kind of jumped in for about 4 hours. I'm still in the very first level, which is kind of a jungle / kind of Aztec kind of level. So I jumped in instantly. It's wow. This is lovely. You know, this looks incredible. It is a really good looking game. It's not as good looking as maybe I don't know, Ratchet and Clank on the PS4 or running on the PS4 Pro. But it's definitely kind of it's so smooth. You know, the Yooka-Laylee, you know, the character models on them are just so, and that's one of the things that I picked up when I played at EGX. You know, they just look so incredible. You know, they really do look almost kind of use that phrase, almost Pixar-esque. And I was really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying this game, and it made me chuckle quite a few times. I do find myself kind of drawing on a few of the negatives, though, because even though this is a fantastic game that is obviously a ginormous reboot of Banjo-Kazooie, it steals from that kind of in every way. You know, we all know the story behind Yooka-Laylee, where it's the group of guys that were ex-Rare, that were some of the original team from Banjo-Kazooie. And it feels like that. But it was really funny. The one thing that started to grate on me quite quickly, because I was playing it with headphones, was the talking, was the kind of gibberish, kind of, you know, kind of the wop 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 wop. You know, and that was actually kind of it was one of the things.
What's doing that? Is that the soundtrack, or is that Birds in the Trees?
That's, you know when, I don't know if you ever played Banjo, but when people are talking, they don't talk, they just make noises, and it's almost like 3 or 4 noises, like bop 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 bop, you know, or wah 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 wah, you know, and it really started to grate on me,
like the parents in Charlie Brown.
Yes, you know, but these are all just kind of very kind of strange noises. The soundtrack to this game is incredible. You know, I've got it because I was a Kickstarter backer. I've got a digital copy of the soundtrack, and I've even been listening to it today while I've been working. You know, I really like the soundtrack to this game, but I found that the dialogue, I'd have much preferred it if it was just like, you know, actually spoken dialogue, or, you know, with Zelda it's less pronounced, you know, but it just sounded very loud, you know, it was very kind of like, and it really was just kind of, it's really started to grate on me quite quickly, and I was like, oh, I just don't know if I can listen to this, and I need to turn this down, or have a look in the options to see if I can turn down the vocal sound, because it was really just kind of like, really was just kind of like grating on me. And I was thinking, you know, back in the day when we were playing like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, you know, or Donkey Kong Country, you know, you kind of enjoyed that. It always kind of made you laugh. But this was just, it was like, oh no, I don't. It's too much. You know, they're kind of playing on it too much. And then my biggest gripe, kind of similar to what you were talking about with Persona, my biggest gripe is the control system.
Oh,
it's so floaty. It's so loose that I went straight to the menu to see if you can tighten up the camera. But the actual controlling, after, I think Zelda has ruined me, because after because Zelda's so tight, you know, even like intricate puzzles, you can gently tiptoe over a ledge. But with I actually found myself failing at some of the puzzles in Yooka-Laylee, even some of the early puzzles at Yooka-Laylee, because I couldn't control the character properly. and I was falling off a ledge. Like one of the very first ones where you have to get the Padgies, which are, you have to collect 150 Padgies, and you have to collect so many Padgies to unlock more worlds in the game. So you have to get your first Padgie, and it's just on top of this capital B statue in the main world, and you have to just kind of go on this little platform and just wind your way up to the top. And I fell off like 3 times because it wasn't me, it was just so floaty. And like I say, I don't know if it's because I'm just used to Switch and I'm used to Zelda, but for some reason this really lovely looking game was frustrating me, to the point where I took my headphones off and I was like, oh, and I found myself actually getting frustrated at the game mechanics and not the game.
Well, it's kind of key in a platform game, the control.
I know, it really is.
Was it? How was Banjo? You see, I never did play Banjo.
Banjo was perfect.
Right, so then if they're going to bring the perfect reminiscing of the wah 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 sound, why haven't they brought the perfect reminiscing of the perfect control?
Like I say, I'm not kind of like I'm done with it. I'm gonna continue playing it. But I've also got, because my backer code for Yooka-Laylee is actually on the Switch, so I bought it on Xbox because I wanted to play the toy box. And Nicola wants to play it on Xbox. She wants to play on Xbox. She wants to get those achievements for Yooka-Laylee, and she was looking at the TV going, "Wow, that looks really good." And I was thinking, "Yeah, it's going to annoy the crap out of you when you get to play it." But she, and it was just like Mario 64 was tight. It was you could turn on a dime on Mario 64. But there's something about this game at the moment, and it just feels just way too floaty, just way too, and sometimes the camera pans in really close as well. So I'm finding myself constantly using camera. So I'm
loads of niggles from 10 years ago will come with it.
Exactly.
You could argue that they put it in for challenge. Because it makes it more challenging, doesn't it? Do you think it's there on purpose to make... This is how it used to feel? This is how hard games used to be? I don't know.
Maybe, you have things like... there have been games like that, haven't there? Like Load Runner. If you ever played the Load Runner reboot on Xbox, that was just kind of very challenging. How games used to be... games back in the day. But like I say, at the moment I'm not finished with it. I'm going to continue playing it because like I say, it makes me laugh. There's some, even though those characters are doing their kind of when you're actually reading what they're saying, some of it is actually quite funny. It's very kind of tongue-in-cheek, very kind of self-referential. It's like, oh, there was a pig, and there was like, oh, I bet your name is something to do with a weight problem, and he was like Porky Porkinson or something, and it really made me chuckle. It was that really kind of like British sense of humour that you would get from you get from Rare, that you get from Rare, that you get from Playtonics.
That's what everyone backed it for, isn't it? That's what they wanted.
Absolutely, and I just find the character models adorable, and I just really enjoy kind of I like it. But like I say, at the moment, it's just I even went just to kind of roll up this, because you can roll with Yooka kind of just like rolls, and you can roll up a hill. But one of the things that really frustrated me, and I just think I need to de-Zelda, and this is why I need Yooka-Laylee on Switch. It's not out on Switch yet. It's coming, and obviously my backer code is coming, but it's not coming yet. And there's no dates yet. They're working. I think Playtonic have said that they're working with Nintendo to try and get it out as soon as possible. But one of the things that frustrates me slightly is, like, in Zelda, everything's there. You have everything you need right from the start. Where here, I couldn't even roll until I went somewhere, and then they gave me that roll. And I couldn't jump. I went over, like, instantly, opens up in a world. I see some chests. I go up to those chests, press X, nothing happens. I go over to Trouser, who is a snake, and I go over to Trouser, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to give you this move," and it's a swish, a tail swish. I press X. They go back over to the crate, press X, and then I get a little quill. So it's going from a game that just basically gave you everything and gave you so much to a game that is now kind of saying, you can't do that until we allow you to do that. I think it is. It's like a kind of part of the gaming mechanics and part kind of de-Zeldering.
Yeah, Zelda's ruined you.
It really has to have that beautiful, lovely game. It's like,
in future, every game you've got to be like, yeah, it's a brilliant game, but it's no Zelda. I'll tell you that much.
But what I'll do is I'm going to play it more over the weekend.
Yeah, persevere. You might get used to it more, and then you might come back next week and you'll either be like, "Yeah, I've adjusted to the controls," or you'll be like, "Yeah, they just could have tightened up a bit."
Yeah, indeed. I'm going to play it over the Easter when we game over the Easter bank holiday. I'm going to play that. I'm just going to play that. So that's all I'm going to play. Maybe play a bit of Persona after you kind of gave it that shining, glorious review. And I still need to find time for Horizon Zero Dawn now as well, and I need to kind of do that before some other games.
Man. I'd go for with Persona and Horizon. I'd go for one or the other and try and concentrate on one.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want, obviously, really. But yeah, it's probably best that you don't play. I say don't play Yooka-Laylee on the Switch until you're used to it, because if it's getting you frustrated, I don't want to hear that you threw your Switch against the wall because you couldn't make a jump.
But I just think maybe the controls might be tighter on the Switch. It'd be really interesting to kind of see what it's like, kind of on the Switch. And I said to Nicola, I said, "Oh, do you want my code for the Switch?" And she said, "No, I want to play it on Xbox. I'm happy with Zelda on my Switch." And she's looking forward to Mario Kart coming out at the end of the month. We're couple of weeks away, couple of weeks and change away from that coming out. So she's so it was really interesting. So it wasn't kind of like bitter disappointment, but it was just kind of a bit of I came away last night, finished it after I finished the session. I was like, okay, I've got to give it more. I've got to, and I've been thinking about it today as I've been kind of going about my day, and I'm just like, yeah, I will play it more. I've got to just try and tackle on. So at the moment, looks gorgeous. Soundtrack is amazing. Voices are annoying the hell out of me, and the control system's a bit wobbly.
So you came away expecting to be a little bit more delighted, but broadly, it's pretty good.
Indeed. By doing that, going, you sound like one of the characters. So, anyway, let's start the news section. And in this week's news section, the Scorpio specs are out. We talked about it last week, and the specs are out. We also have some Star Wars Battlefront and Uncharted news. But first, it's Scorpio. Daz, over to you. Scorpio specs.
Right, so Scorpio specs are...
Right, sit down, get comfy.
Wow. The good news is, it looks like... first of all, just a bit of background. Microsoft gave... Well, we've mentioned this before, but Microsoft gave this as an exclusive to Digital Foundry as part of Eurogamer to reveal the specs. It was a technical reveal, technical specs reveal, rather than a games reveal. Mm-hmm. And so we just saw sort of the hardware specs. We didn't really hear much about the games, and we don't really know about the form factor, but we might come on to a little bit of speculation about that in a little while. So, from Eurogamer's spec sheet, let's look at the specs, shall we?
Indeed. Did you hear what happened? It was really interesting. I was listening to an interview with Albert Pinello, who is one of the execs. I've forgotten his job title, but Albert Pinello, who is one of the main guys at Microsoft. He's like the program manager for Xbox, and they were basically just talking about Scorpio specs and how things get leaked and how specs get leaked. So they decided that as soon as these specs get leaked, the first place they're going to go is they're going to go to Digital Foundry, and Digital Foundry will do a breakdown of these, and they will do an article. So they said, well, why don't we go to Digital Foundry, and why don't
out the middleman?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't we invite Richard Leadbetter to Seattle and just show him what we've got? And that's exactly what they did. So they just kind of brought Richard Leadbetter over, and they basically said, this is the Scorpio, and they took them through all of the parts. And they were saying in this interview, Albert Pinello basically just said that he was really quiet. Throughout the entire time, he was really quiet, and they didn't know what was going to go up on Eurogamer on that Wednesday afternoon. He said he got up at like 5 a.m. Seattle time and was refreshing his web browser to see what Richard Leadbetter had written about the Scorpio reveal.
Wow, so they didn't get like a pre-copy or anything?
No. So they basically just sent him the specs. They did all of that, and that was it. And they're saying that one of the things that did kind of blow Albert and Richard's mind is that the lead designer of the Xbox, who has designed Xbox 360, Xbox One, actually had all of the parts out and assembled them in front of it. And this is how, as you said, we'll get to the kind of form factor, actually assembled them in front of him.
Cool.
And then just was like, that's Xbox Scorpio.
Wow.
Oh my god! so yeah, though, just a little bit of background there.
No, it's cool. It's a confident move, as we said. We were discussing last week. It's a confident move from Microsoft. I think it showed their confidence. But like the argument you make there, Digital Foundry were going to do a teardown and really sort of severe, or rigorous analysis anyway. So it's it was going to happen anyway. But if they felt the machine was nothing to shout about, I don't think they would have skipped the middleman, would they, so quickly? They wouldn't have waved the flag and said, hey, come on, Digital Foundry, tear us to shreds. But obviously they did have the confidence, didn't they? And it's come out with Digital Foundry, and they've talked about the specs now. I mean, ultimately, the box sounds amazing. And it sounds like what was promised by Mr. Spencer at the end of the last Xbox conference at E3, where he sort of said 6 teraflops, native 4K, 60 frames per second. But then we had that message that sort of tempered it a few months ago. But yeah, it seems that it's going to be able to do the job.
So this isn't checkerboard. This isn't checkerboard. This is actual native 4K gaming.
Yeah. This is native 4K gaming with room to spare. I mean, they did a Forza 7 tech demo. Mm-hmm. And they ran this for Richard. And they ran it at the same graphical settings as the Xbox One at 4K at 60 frames per second. And it hit 60 to 70% of the power of the Xbox. So it had room to spare. Then, apparently, they ramped up the textures and the graphical quality to the ultra settings of a PC equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit 60 frames per second fine and still had some room to spare. So this is a powerful machine. This is an absolute beast. And this brings back some of my questions that we sort of chatted about months ago. We've had a long time since the announcement of the Scorpio. Do you remember when I was sort of saying it's weird how could they do this when a graphics card that could do this costs about £500 to £700 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't got a price for this console, by the way, but it's gonna have to be around console price, admittedly, but maybe premium console price. So you're not talking £700, and that £700 for a PC is just for one component.
Yes.
Yeah, if we're going to start seeing consoles that can do this, which is giving you 4K 60 gaming and everything else in a console, and Microsoft, they're talking about sort of getting a bit more crossover with PC as well. Mm-hmm. You're getting your dream of the PC with the form factor here.
I really am.
With more power for less money.
Indeed. I was saying to you just before we kind of hit record on the pod, I was actually thinking about it at the weekend, and the more I was thinking about this box, the more excited I was getting. It was just because, and we'll talk about the stats, so we really should go through the kind of the what's in there and kind of what it's going to do as well. But yeah, absolutely. I'm getting that. It's almost funny because I've been stubborn and I haven't bought the plug on a PC. I'm quite close. But I haven't pulled a plug on a PC because I've been waiting for this kind of small form factor 4K PC, and it looks like Project Scorpio is gonna deliver that.
I think it's going to give you what you want. I think it really is. It won't give you HTC Vive, and we'll get to this as well, it probably will be twinned with some VR technologies. It's
VR ready, isn't it?
And Microsoft it's open to VR. Yeah. So VR is going to work with it. They're going to work with VR for Scorpio. I may as well mention this now, but there's a great Q&A with Phil Spencer about the Scorpio from Gamasutra. It's quite a long-form article. They did a big, long interview talking about all sorts of things, and he mentions little bits about VR, and basically he talks about the whole approach to Scorpio from its inception in 2014. When he started to lead Xbox.
Right.
And his missions were sort of the S, or the Xbox One, obviously, but then there was the S and the Scorpio. And he said that they were both sort of developed in tandem. And they've got a long Q&A where they discussed the whole thing with him, and it's really cool.
Oh, that's really interesting. I haven't seen that.
I will add that to the show notes. I just thought that was an opportune moment to mention it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's really interesting, so let me just pop that in there. So anyway, the specs.
Yes.
So, what's in the box, right? So Eurogamer are really good here, and they've given us what the Scorpio's got, what the Xbox One has got, and what the PS4 Pro has got. So we'll go through each one. What should we do? Right, the Scorpio first. So the CPU. In the Scorpio, you're getting 8 custom x86 cores clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. The Xbox One has 8 custom Jaguar cores clocked at 1.75 gigahertz, so a lot lower.
Mm-hmm.
And the PS4 Pro's got 8 cores, same Jaguar, clocked at 2.1 gigahertz, so still lower than the Scorpio. Scorpio trumps the lot there with its 2.3. The GPU, and I think this is probably the main beast of a component within this unit. On the Project Scorpio, you're getting 40 customized compute units at 1172 megahertz. Don't ask me to explain what that means, but I reckon the higher the number, the better. Okay. So you're getting 40 of these compute units at 1172 megahertz. The Xbox One had 12 GCN compute units at 853 megahertz. It's quite a difference. And the PS4 Pro has got 36 improved GCN compute units at 911 megahertz. So the Scorpio here has got more customized compute units than either of the others, and it's also clocked at a higher rate than either of the others. It's got loads more. It's got almost over 3 times more, nearly 4 times more than the Xbox One. And then it's just like a little bit over the PS4 Pro, but it's the
speed.
It's the speed as well. The speed's just like over and above at 1172 as opposed to the PS4's 911. The memory, you're getting 12 gig of GDDR5 RAM, which is kind of wow. The Xbox One had 8 of DDR3. And the PS4 Pro had 8 gig of GDDR5. So, it's getting a third extra, isn't it, on top from what the PS4 Pro's got. The memory bandwidth on the Scorpio, 326 gigabytes per second. Now, this is really important for, just streaming the games, isn't it? Most games now, they can't read optical discs fast enough, so most games are installed to the hard drive and then streamed. Memory bandwidth is all important for the streaming of the game. 326 gigabytes on the Scorpio, 219 gigabytes a second on the Xbox One, 218 gigabytes per second on the PS4 Pro.
So all of that, the memory and the memory bandwidth, that's going to help kind of getting those 4K visuals loaded as quickly as possible, isn't it?
Yeah, no more, hopefully reducing any kind of popping and things like that, big draw distances, and not seeing that popping of texture, that sort of drawing effect as textures sort of overlap on each other to create the whole image. So it makes it more instant and less perceivable to our eye, which makes for a more beautiful software, doesn't it? I mean, more beautiful game. Hard drive, Scorpio's got a 1 terabyte, 2.5 inch. So's the PS4 Pro. So's the Xbox One, if you choose. The Xbox One's got a choice, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
interesting that they went for 1 terabyte, but I won't kind of nitpick here because obviously you can just plug in your external hard drive. And one of the great things about all of this is that the Scorpio is going to use the same power lead as the Xbox One S. So same HDMI, same power lead, and same hard drive. So you could, when it arrives whenever it arrives, you could just pop out your Xbox One S and then just pop your Scorpio straight back in using the same connectors that are just there, which is absolutely perfect. And considering how much computing power you've just talked about, to have that same power lead and not go back to an external brick, is pretty incredible, really.
It is. I do like the way that you say that. You just plug it in. It's as if soon we'll just get like blade servers or racks for our consoles, and you'll just take one blade out and get the new console. It'll be like a blade server, and you just plug that in.
Well, absolutely.
I mean,
for someone like Stuart, he has all of his stuff racked, and it's he has a gorgeous rack. Man, that man has a gorgeous rack. And so for him, it's going to be easy because all he needs to do is just pop out his Xbox One S and then just kind of pop Scorpio in it, kind of so simply. So it's just I love that. There's nothing, and like I say, I got kind of very fanboyish over the weekend, but there was nothing about this that worried me, or it was just the attention to detail. And listening to this interview with Albert Pinello as well, he was really, these guys are really kind of, these are our people, who are designing this console, and they're designing it for gamers, and they're designing it for those people that that want those 4K visuals. But obviously there's stuff in the box, there's stuff in Scorpio if you don't have a 4K TV. You know, it's going to help you get to that 1080p, isn't it, as well? If for other games, it's going to always do a PS4 Pro to the games.
Yeah, but even more so, because unlike the PS4 Pro, I'm sort of paraphrasing this a little bit, but it's kind of everything's going to work. The way that it's been engineered is instead of the developers choosing to give extra options on a game-by-game basis, from what I've read, everything's going to have those options natively. If the engine or if the game was developed in a certain way, then the Scorpio will automatically enhance it.
Right.
Without anything else. They've also been working on the backwards compatibility games, the 360 games.
Mm-hmm.
They'll also be enhanced.
Wow.
As well, as long as they were made in a certain way, you know. Because if you notice, like if I, for instance, I bought Space Channel 5 on Steam, and I used to play it, you know, on 360 and who knows what resolution, terrible resolution, and then I can up it to 4K, and it looks absolutely beautiful, but the cutscenes look terrible. but the actual engine all up-reses because it's 4K. Right. So I think they're saying that will just happen, whereas I don't think that happens so much with the PS4. And the interview that I mentioned with Phil Spencer, he says that like from the ground up, they wanted it to do this not only for the 4K people, but obviously that was. I think that really if we hadn't had the advent of 4K, I don't think we'd be getting these mid-generation upgrades. Though when you're looking at the power of the Scorpio, mid-generation upgrade really seemed. It's amazing that they're sort of pitching it as a mid-generation upgrade. Because surely it's got the power to be the next Xbox. But anyway, regardless of that, that's what it is.
Because what it's going to do, I guess, if you're running just a 1080p TV, it's almost going to run that game. Like if you put one of the new Scorpio games or Xbox games, because obviously there's no kind of Scorpio games. It's every game is a Scorpio game. So if you put it in and it's upscaling that to 4K, and you've only got a 1080p TV, it's going to do all of that. It just can't get there. So you're going to have all of those smooth visuals, aren't you? It's like, you know, it's going to all of the pixels are there. It's just your TV can't render them. So it's going to look. You imagine something like The Witcher 3 on this. You know, this is going to look. It's going to look insane. It's going to look incredible.
It'll downsample it, so it'll sort of run it in 4K, but then it'll downsample it to your TV's resolution, so you'll get all that 4K goodness sort of squashed up, which means you'll get more fidelity and resolution there. So it'll give a boost to your enjoyment, you know, to the presentation of the game. Having not been able to experiment and tinker around with that sort of technology, it's difficult for me to say like whether that would be something that you'd definitely notice. Do you know what I mean? You'd need to get one and switch it, wouldn't you, really? Or whether it'd be something that only sort of connoisseurs, AV connoisseurs, would be able to see. Because 1080p graphics look amazing on a 1080p TV anyway.
Yes, absolutely. When you get a game that is actually running 1080p, which they really should be in this generation, 1080p 60 frames, which is important. You know, again, it's kind of that 60 frames and 1080p, and that's kind of the thing that this generation really should have aspired to, and that's what we should be getting, and that's what we're going to be getting now with these mid-range refreshes. It does look stunning. You know, it really looks stunning. But one of the things that I think a lot of people have been struggling about with the Scorpio is that you have this CPU, you have this GPU, so they start trying to compare it to graphics cards that are out in the market. But I don't know what you think, but I don't think it's as easy as saying that this is a you know, help me here, insert latest gen graphics card, because there's obviously the AMD or the graphics chips are there, but there's also some Microsoft good stuff in there as well, isn't there? Which makes it custom, which gives it that extra edge over, which is why it's apples and oranges to the graphics cards that are out there right now.
Yeah, I think there's a few things, like you say, that there's the one thing that Microsoft have sort of built this from the ground up to hopefully have no bottlenecks and all to work perfectly for what they want. And they started off with a vision that they wanted. I think the initial vision they wanted was they wanted to hit 4K 30 frames per second easily with the machine. So they used that as the benchmark or the starting point that they wanted to hit, or the end point. No, I don't think it was the end point. They wanted to hit that as a minimum point. And so they've created this machine around that. So it's a bit like the argument about consoles, like they use this with I think Richard Marx said it about the PS4s, Dr. Richard Marks, to give him his full title. When we were talking about PSVR and how the PSVR ran so similarly to the Oculus and, say, the Vive that needed such powerful PCs. And the reason was because a lack of hardware abstraction layer on the consoles. They're all standard. They don't have to take into account all these different configurations and stuff, do you?
No.
So they've got that benefit straight off. Plus, it's all bespoke stuff that's been manufactured or picked or chosen and built together for the sole purpose of gaming.
Yes.
And I know, graphics cards are for the sole purpose of gaming, but then they've got to take into consideration all the different configurations of PCs that many people might have, but they don't have to take this into consideration because it's going to be, it's this graphics card. We want the best RAM to work with this card. We want the best card to work with this CPU, etc. So everything should flow, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. It's really exciting.
And how sexy was that vapor chamber?
The vapor chamber cooling unit.
That was just so cool. It was just so lovely.
Man. So it's kind of like, you can't just say, we'll just throw this in there and that would equal it, or what? It's more than that, isn't it? It's greater than the sum of its parts, it seems. And in the Phil Spencer Q&A that I mentioned, they were talking about why now, about November. Why did they not sort of hit when PS4 Pro hit? And he said that basically that their reasoning was because of the target that they wanted to hit, there wasn't the silicon on the market sort of early, I don't know, say 2015, whenever it was that they were going to start making that machine to hit that date for the price they wanted. Mm-hmm. So they decided to wait. And he said that the PS4 Pro is a great machine and he can see what they've done with that, and it was a great decision considering what was available in the market that they would, and the choices they would have had to make to build that machine in time for releasing it when it did. But and obviously we know that doesn't quite hit the native, does it? No. It's more of an iterative upgrade than the Scorpio is. The Scorpio seems to be a bit of a monster. So Microsoft thought, it sounds like they didn't want to sort of have marketing phrases like dynamic 4K and all the rest of it. They wanted 4K, native. That's what they decided, and they made a decision to say, we can't get this now. Let's leave it. Let's wait for the price to hit for the components we want. And that might be partly of the reason, like you say, about the 1 terabyte drive. Because why not save a bit of money where you can when it really doesn't affect the end user too much, does it?
No. No, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that really did impress me, and I know it's just a screenshot, but was the richness of colour and detail in that Forza screenshot. It looked stunning, didn't it? I think when I sent you that, didn't I? I was like, look at this!
Yeah, I received that when I was out and about, so it was all blooming blocky and stuff. But it was actually because the conference went live when Claire had just about got halfway through her Calamity Gammon. Right. So I was out, and it was dead bad because it meant I'd left too late, and I wasn't home for the
page went live, not the So it was, but it just looked so good. I mean, it just made me start thinking, what's Halo going to look like? Because E3's coming. We're a couple of months away from E3. We've got to have a Halo game. Not coming out this year. It's going to be coming out next year, but there's going to be a reveal, isn't there? So if they just go, here's Halo. Even here's Halo 5 running on Scorpio. Look what it does to Halo 5, and then here's Halo 6. This is going to look stunning. The worlds are going to look amazing. Just kind of
right. Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm going to tell you a little bit more hardware stuff.
Okay.
And then remind me about Halo. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to get this hardware stuff out of the way.
Okay. Sorry.
And then remind me. Yeah, because I got something to say about that. Right. So I'll just quickly read you what
Scorpio doesn't take Lock away. Lock is still in the game.
Oh, that's a shame. It's Master Chief I want. So this is Eurogamer's sort of layman's terms summary of what it is. Okay, so they say the CPU is about 30% faster than the Xbox Ones. The GPU is 4.6 times more powerful than the Xbox Ones. What matters just as much, though, is the huge amount of very fast memory. Even with the 4GB of it, which is reserved for the system, out of the 12, games have a whole 8GB to play with, up from 5GB of much slower memory on the Xbox One. That means fast streaming of very high quality art assets, which will really help 4K at Ultra HD resolutions that Microsoft is gunning for. Then they say, actually that doesn't matter. That's the main point. Also, the other hardware thing I saw today was that Scorpio is going to support AMD's FreeSync. and the upcoming variable refresh rate support that we're going to get in the next gen HDMI 2.1 spec. And what that means is that for displays that support variable refresh rate, it means we're going to get a much smoother experience, more akin to 60 frames per second gaming, even if it's not 60 frames per second. Because some of the tearing and jagginess and judder that you get is because basically the GPU or the system, it might not be the GPU. I'm not Richard Richard Letterman. What's his name?
Richard Marks.
No,
Richard...
the Eurogamer guy.
Oh, you mean?
I've forgotten his name.
I've got it written down in my notes. Richard Leadbetter.
Richard Leadbetter. I was saying Letterman. Sorry, Richard. So yeah, it's because the console or whatever you're using doesn't tally up perfectly with the display that you're using. So there's got to be some jiggery pokery to make that work. And when that doesn't match it, so say if your monitor's native is 60 frames and a game comes out that's like 30 frames or 25 frames, the more sort of off that is with the native of the monitor, I hope I'm getting this right, then the more judder you would get and stuff like that. And that's why hitting 60 frames is really good, because I think most monitors or displays are good at presenting 60 frames per second, or maybe they're good at 30, maybe is like the second best. But you can have a frame rate of, say, 45 frames per second, and it might not feel as good as 30 frames per second because it doesn't sort of match the display. But anyway, in the next gen of HDMI 2.1, they're going to have this variable refresh rate support. And so if your display supports that, Scorpio's going to support that too, which means they'll both match, which means you're going to get much more fluid games, and they're going to get the ability. You're going to have the ability there. I don't know whether this will be a setting or whether most displays will give you this just naturally without us even noticing it in time. But if the console and the displays both match with that feature, then you're going to get really smooth gaming, even if it's not 60 frames per second. And I suppose maybe at 60 frames it's going to be even better, and maybe it advances even higher frames. I'm not too sure. And also, we're going to have the HDR that we all kind of expect on a machine of this ilk.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, so you mentioned games. So
I did.
The hardware. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry,
no,
it's just that I'd forget otherwise. So the elephant in the room for me, right? This came out and it's amazing. It's like, where's the games? Because all the games I've been playing, and I think you've been playing in this quarter, have mainly been off Xbox. My Xbox doesn't go on much at the moment because I'm playing everything on other consoles. I'm not bothered about exclusives particularly, but I just want games that are out on the Xbox. It's just that most games that have come out have been on other systems. You've got Zelda, Horizon Zero Dawn, to name two. You know, they're on different systems, aren't they? I don't feel that Microsoft's had a game to rival those for a little while. And obviously, we said at the start, this is a hardware reveal. So it's kind of obvious, really, that they wanted to get, and I think you said this, Anthony, a few times over the last few weeks, get all this hardware stuff out of the way, get the tech nerd stuff out of the way to leave E3 for the games.
Yes.
So we're hoping, aren't we, here, that E3 is going to provide the games. They've done this, and I think it's a great way to do it through the technical site the Digital Foundry is. And then E3 is going to give us the games, and that's fantastic. But for people that were worrying about that, this might be from the same podcast you were talking about, because the Xbox marketing head, Albert Pinello, said, and it was on a podcast with Major Nelson, so it might be the same one. But he was talking about the games, and he said that they're listening to fan feedback there. And he said, that's going to be the big thing, games. Look, I get it, I hear the feedback, I want everyone to know, games, it's coming. And then he said, today was about the specs, today we told you what the box does, you're going to see games, we know. Okay, so it's kind of obvious, but that's kind of an official line. This reveals about the specs, they know. They know that we need the games. I think, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, I think the quiet time that we've had from Microsoft, and I'm praying that this is why, is exactly because of this. Because everything, they've just hidden it for now, for a few months, for the sake of a few months, and a bit of probably people thinking, oh, there's nothing coming, because they know Scorpio's coming, and they want to have a big E3.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. I think we had the same from Sony, didn't we? Where we knew that Sony's kind of were coming on, were attacking, but we had a whole Christmas, a whole holiday period where we had nothing from Sony. On the PlayStation 4, it was just third-party titles, and there was nothing first-party. And even on this pod, we said where are you, Sony? Where's the first-party titles? And now we're getting all of those. And I think now it's Microsoft's time. And you're right. They've got this. Because I love this announcement so much, the Xbox fanboy in me would love this to come out at E3. One of those kind of Apple moments, and it's out now, and I would just blow my mind. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be November that this is going to come out. I think this is going to try and get out kind of around Good Friday, kind of around all of that. People... Good deals for 4K TVs, there's something to play on it, all of that kind of makes sense. And if they can come to this E3 and say, this is out now, and look what it looks like on Scorpio or whatever it's called, then this is going to blow everybody's mind.
Yeah. I mean, this is a monster. This is a warhorse of a machine, ready, pulling, straining at the reins, to just get out there and run some amazing games. Microsoft has got so much money. I can't imagine for 1 minute that they would be doing this whole release, investing in this new console, if they didn't have some big hitters to stun us with. And I know that, before we've sort of talked about games being held back by Xbox One.
Yeah, that's not now, is it?
in light of the Scorpio, because everything's got to run on the Xbox. They've said that, haven't they? They'll all run on the Xbox One. I'd say you could look at it this way. You can still... I mean, big blockbuster games on PC have a minimum spec, don't they? Or a recommended spec. And anything above that, you're going to get the true experience. So the Scorpio owners are going to get that sort of bells and whistles. They're going to get this next generation effect. And the other guys are going to get maybe your medium, your recommended between minimum and recommended spec deal.
Yeah.
So the developers could still develop for Scorpio as long as it's playable on Xbox One, and give a good experience, to the limits of the Xbox One, it might even do it good because it also. I'm going back to this Q&A with Phil Spencer. He talked about the dev kits are more powerful than the actual Scorpio, and we should probably talk about that a little bit. The dev kits have got sort of like 24 gig of RAM instead of 12.
Right.
And he said that basically it's a lot easier for developers, and I don't know, I'm just quoting Phil here, to tweak down instead of tweaking up. So to give them not enough power and then say get it to here, that's a really difficult job. But he said to give them the ability to just be able to do whatever they want and then trim it down, rein it in to fit the Scorpio. He said that's an easier job for them. And so my argument that I just sort of ended up here with that is that maybe by then, instead of using Xbox One's sort of limited tech to try and reach PS4 expectations, instead of doing that, where you're trying to go up, which he says is more difficult, by bringing things out, like big hitters out on and developing for Scorpio, by tweaking down, they might get more out of the Xbox One for the existing Xbox One owners. But he does reiterate over and over again, it's an Xbox family, and there's no way they want to abandon the Xbox One owners. So that's the way I see it. Because I remember saying to you, and I think maybe you said to me, it was like, but they're going to get held back by the Xbox One. But maybe if you look at it this way, I can't see that they would make a game that couldn't run at all on the Xbox One. It would just be that you'd lose some of that finesse.
Exactly. It's like when you played the Lego games, isn't it? When you played the Lego games when the next generation came out. When Xbox One came out, you played the Lego game there. It looked a lot shinier. It was the same game on Xbox 360, but just looked a lot shinier on Xbox One. But it was the exact same game. There wasn't more bricks flying around or more Lego flying around. It was the same thing. But it was just...
Like Zelda would be just... It would run on Xbox One and it'd be just as wonderful. And it would just give you that extra sheen, wouldn't it? More than a sheen on Scorpio. It'd just kind of be mind-blowing graphics as well as everything else. But it'd still be a wonderful game. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And unless somebody has this idea of a game that's something that we don't know about yet, and that requires this amount of power to run. because you got games like GTA 5 that run on Xbox One. Right, well, I played GTA 5 on 360.
Yeah,
massive sprawling game, beautiful, wonderful experience. So I think we'll be a long way before. And tell me, do you agree with me? I was just saying that I think we'll be a long way before it couldn't run on One. So instead of saying they'll be developing for One and just boosting it for Scorpio, I'm just saying that there's every chance they could be developing it for Scorpio and trying to make the best experience they can for One. It's the other way round. Yeah. And I don't think I'm starting to think, after reading what Phil said, I think it sounds perfectly viable, and why not? It's like you can have Commodore 64 remakes of like the latest games, and you could have the heart of that game there. But I'm not saying it'd be that different. But hopefully you see my point. Sorry, yes. I'll get off my soapbox.
But wouldn't it be just like what third parties have been doing for years? Because over on PlayStation 4, EA titles or a Call of Duty has been 1080p 60, but over on Xbox it's been 930 or 945. So they've been doing that, haven't they? They've been doing that for years, where they have, this is our high spec, and then obviously they've already got the PC as well. Here's our high spec PC, here's our middle spec PlayStation 4, and here's our low spec Xbox One. So they've been doing that, so it just shows that that's available. Now we're going to have that, but obviously, times 10. But one of the interesting things I think about this, like especially when it comes to E3, are they going to say that Xbox One S becomes the default Xbox One? So they stop, so the Xbox One becomes, similar to as Apple would with phones. They're not stop supporting it, but they stop manufacturing Xbox Ones. So now they have just two members in their family. That's Xbox One S that gives you HDR and it gives you extra clocking speed, etc. And then you have this Xbox Scorpio, which obviously won't be called Scorpio, unfortunately, but it won't be called Scorpio. That's the engine of it. So whatever this Xbox is going to be called, this next Xbox is going to be called. And I think they'll just have those two, because three might confuse people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's more reasons for it, isn't there? It's like it costs them more to be developing more stuff. So to stop developing one, I'm sure that would probably save them money. So it makes sense for them. The Xbox One S is really, it's a really good price for what it is. When you think about, and this is a little bit about the estimated costs. I'm seeing more and more people, and I sort of think that we could expect the Scorpio to be around £499.
Wow, I'm $450, I think.
Oh yeah, but that's what I paid for my Xbox One. I think, or maybe it was $450. Maybe you're right. I'm thinking it's probably going to be the same as the Xbox One, because I remember thinking that's quite a pricey console when I got it. But
was it really that expensive?
Yeah, it was about $450 I paid, or $499. It was one or the other. It was loads. I remember thinking, "Blooming hell, that's a lot." But I was like, "But Rise looks so good," so I didn't mind. But the Xbox One S, you can pick one up for about £200 in some deals with a game. £199 with Minecraft thrown in. And it's better than the other one, the original Xbox One, and the form it's a lot smaller. It just makes sense for them to stop that in the manufacture, but they're not leaving the gamers, are they? And then they'll just let like natural wastage they'll just peter out, won't they? And then you'll just get left with the S, and maybe you just put the one in your garage, wouldn't you, for posterity?
Yeah, or put it in your garden to play Rock Band.
Oh yeah, it could just be a garden rock band machine.
But it really does, it really kind of, again, it kind of, as I was saying, I think maybe last week, that when we were talking about VR, I really want Sony to do their conference in VR, and I really want Microsoft to do their conference or have later a version in 4K for those people that have already kind of bought into that technology, because same as with the PS4 Pro launch, in order to see those, we had to then kind of start looking at all those game trailers in 4K. And that's what I want to see from Microsoft, is that they go, okay, and it sounds like it from the Albert Pinello interview, they're all talking about 4K TVs. I've just got this 4K TV, and it sounds like Microsoft are kind of heavily invested in 4K. They love 4K, they enjoy 4K, and they believe in it. So they're rather than maybe VR right now, they're kind of more kind of 4K's where it's at.
Oh yeah, it's all about the 4K. That's the linchpin. That's what made them decide to make the console. It's funny that they're only just getting the 4K TVs. That we're ahead of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same. A lot of the US podcasts that I listen to, they have been kind of just poking fun at 4K for ages. And it's quite interesting now when you kind of, there's like one or two of the group are going, oh yeah, I bought a 4K TV the other day, and it's amazing. Where before they're like, it's crap, but now they get it, and then they realise, and they actually kind of see what we have been seeing for years now. So,
yeah, I don't get that rubbishing something just because you haven't got it. It I don't know. It just it's something that confuses me.
But
I could always appreciate something great just because I haven't got it.
Yes,
and I wouldn't think, because I thought when I didn't have a 4K TV that everyone had one. I sort of thought everyone's getting one of these, and I thought I was behind. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit further ahead, but
absolutely, I think you definitely.
But I never rubbished it. I was just thought of before I had a 4K TV and before I had HD and everybody else. But I saw one of my mates, and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And it wasn't like it'll never catch on. I just thought, I want that for me. I want to play games like that. One of the things Phil Spencer said was it was easier with the 360, because he said when the 360 came out, between Xbox Original and the 360, he said that was really the point where TVs went from standard def to HD.
Yeah.
Whereas he said this has happened from he's called it 1K, the sort of 1080 standard. He said, so if you forgive the phrase, he said the 1K to 4K transition has kind of happened mid-gen.
Yeah.
Hence a sort of another reason for a mid-gen upgrade. I thought, yeah, I could buy into that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally. I think I don't know if I had a 4K TV before I got my Xbox One. I might have done, but I'm a rare case. But but you're right. It really has. Now if you go into John Lewis or you go into Pete Curry's or whatever to buy a TV or Richer Sounds or wherever you go, you can see that in the UK you can see that you can pick up a 4K TV. Relatively cheap. You don't have to spend thousands of pounds to get a 4K TV. You can get one for 500. They're now kind of there. You'll probably be hard pressed to just see a 1080p, a HD TV. They'd probably be hard pressed to get that. Most of them are going to now be 4K ready. So if you're buying a new TV now, it just makes sense to do that.
It is really the standard, I think, and that's what Microsoft predicted way back then. I think they predicted that 4K had become more mainstream round about the 2016-2017 time, and that's another reason, that they said they wanted Scorpio for this kind of time, taking into account I presume the price of silicon. I think that's what they might mean when they say the silicon on the market. So yeah, it sounds like a great machine, and I can't wait to see what games are coming out. So usually at this point I'd say I can't wait to buy it, but they need to convince me at E3. I'm sure they're going to. Oh yeah, getting back to your point.
Don't need to convince you. You're going to buy this. This will be under your Christmas tree.
I can't. If there's no games to buy on it,
well, there's going to be games.
It can't just be another Xbox for Sam to play Minecraft. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They need, but they do need to. I think could they do that? Can they stream in 4K, like live stream? Because they've got so much money. Microsoft, big fat pipe. Stream it in 4K.
Don't they put it in the cloud and then kind of stream it? I don't know. It'll probably be later, or trailers, or all of the games and trailers. Go over to our YouTube channel right now to find to watch this in. But
then you go over and you're missing the conference and the.
Oh no, you wouldn't go right there, would you? You go later after the conference.
But when like last time when it sort of when it makes that transition, it zooms in on the video that they're showing of the game, and it sort of said 4K for the PS4 Pro. I was like so gutted that it didn't just go to 4K.
That'd be so cool, wouldn't it?
It'll get there. It'll get there, won't it?
But I can't wait to see the games. I mean, we've got Crackdown 3. We've got Sea of Thieves. We've got there's some games that are coming out that we know of right now. But my problem is that I instantly see all of this technology, and I just instantly go, I want 4K Viva Pinata, because I know that you could play like Viva Pinata on PC, and I played it once on a PC, and I upped the frame rate as high as it would go, and it looked stunning. And the PC that I was using, or it might have even been my Mac, and I was running Windows on it, and it just was juddering all over the place, and so I had to take it down. I had to take the textures down, but it still looked stunning, and I was just like, God, I want Viva Pinata on 4K.
Well, that little bit of magic that I was talking about, the Scorpio should upscale it should work. And also for any games where developers have already made the assets for 4K or higher anyway than the existing console resolutions or textures. If they've already done it for PC, it's not a very difficult job then, I don't think, to add them into the console version, because it's not like they've got to build the assets. They've already got them for a lot of these games.
So Forza Horizon 3, Gears of War, the new Gears of War, all of those games that are Play Anywhere, Xbox Play Anywhere types that are scaling to 4K, we should be able to play those in 4K on our Xbox One Scorpio.
Yeah, and these might have been little tests for them as well, and they might have been developing these games as well as making it a great experience for the consumer. These games are little tests for their Scorpio hardware as well. Yeah, so been working along with these.
So that's Forza Horizon, that's Quantum Break, that's it is Gears of War as well, is it? Because I remember when I've been playing with when we've been playing with a friend of the show, Manny. He's been playing on his PC and been kind of upping the qualities on both like kind of Gears and also Forza. And always saying it just looks amazing. So we're going to be able to kind of get that kind of visuals what he was seeing there. We should potentially be able to see on our Xbox Scorpios.
Yeah, but without the noise, because my PC is quite noisy when it starts cranking up the graphics. Without the space being taken up, it's going to just fit nicely. And that brings us nicely onto another point, the form factor. We don't really know it yet.
No.
But you've seen the dev kit, haven't you?
Yes, I saw that today.
Now, when we look at this picture that's been released about the dev kits, if you look at and it shows the Scorpio dev kit along with the dev kits of yore for the other Xboxes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that the Xbox One S dev kit looks very much like the Xbox One S.
Yes.
The Xbox One dev kit looks very much like the Xbox One. Can't hardly see a difference in that one.
Mm-hmm.
The original Xbox looks very much the same as well. Apart from like a crystal layer, probably top quarter. And the 360s all look very much like the consumer versions ended up. So if you follow that trend, it's looking like, because this Scorpio dev kit looks very much like an S. It looks like the Xbox One S, doesn't it?
Slightly beefier, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a few more buttons on the front, though. They could be dev kit buttons. And this has got a higher spec with the extra RAM. It's got a few more compute points as well. And it's got an OLED screen on it as well that constantly shows things like frames per second and stuff, so you can see at a glance, how it's running.
I hope that's not obviously that's not going to be included in the final build, because that would drive me crazy. I would be looking at that constantly. Please, Phil, I know that is just for
forums would be on fire with people fighting with the look at the frame rate. But developers would hate that to be out in the public.
I would constantly be looking at that when I'm playing a game. Oh, it's dropped. Oh God, it's and I'm bad enough at speed tests. Let alone kind of, I know that's only for a kind of a dev kit, but and the dev kit again, I think it's got like 3 or 4 HD USB ports as well at the front. So which it could be
a cut down. It could look like that, couldn't it? It could be a cut down version. It might be a bit smaller as well because it hasn't got to have quite as much stuff in it. But you can have that frame rate thing on PC games. I think most of them offer that. I never switch it on though, because like you, I'd be looking at that rather than the game. And I'd be like, oh, it's dropped. But actually, who cares if it's dropped? Because all I'm looking at through the entire game is that top line,
absolutely.
the top left of the screen. But do you think it would come out like being very Xbox One S-ish?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, like I say, it looks very. That was everybody liked the Xbox One S. I mean, I think my only wish, if I could have it, would be that it would be all black. To match the rest of my AV cabinet, because that Xbox One S does kind of stand out. So I think my option would be, I like that the Xbox One S was white, it's lovely, but I would like an all black version, or the ability to choose
kind of the colour choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of my only. I hope it's not any wider, because otherwise I'll have to shifty around my AV cabinet yet again so to get it in. But yeah, I can't wait for them to reveal that in, was it June, isn't it?
Yeah. I do think sometimes it's a little bit of a penalty for early adopters that we don't get a colour choice, and then the next sort of big push, there's always a colour, and it's kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't have minded that, but I didn't have a choice at the time.
Exactly, it's always those game exclusive ones, wasn't it? Like get a battle grey one for Battlefield, or get a red one for Gears of War, and I'm like, I've got a white one, but I'll take whatever they give me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a hardware reveal goes, which I don't know if we've ever had just a hardware reveal before, it's done its job, hasn't it?
It really has. It's got us all hungry for. To see those games running at E3.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. That's what it's got me hungry for. It's made me think, flipping heck, Microsoft's E3 could be something spectacular.
It really could. It really could. And we'll get to it later, but with like Star Wars Battlefront 2 coming out this year, we've seen a trailer, which we'll talk about in a bit. But with that, it's just, there could be some stunning games running on that, looking absolutely delicious.
Oh wow! And I'll move back to the Xbox again. Hooray! Because I always go to the most powerful machine, and it'll be like the 360 days.
Oh yes, yeah, we'll be back on the Xbox, won't we? With all those third-party games.
Yeah, we'll be back on the Xbox, and it'll just be exclusives on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice. I'll be like back in 2010 something. I don't know, but it'll be good.
Superb. And speaking of PlayStation exclusive, the next piece of news is with you.
It is indeed, yeah. And this is the news about getting gifts for gifts. Gifts.
So getting gifts for GIFs.
You see what? Are you a GIF boy?
I don't know. No, I'm a GIF boy.
Oh, because I never heard it before, but I was watching The Know the other day with Ashley Jenkins, and she said GIF, and she said, yeah, I'm on that train. And I thought, it's not GIF, it's GIF.
I thought the maker of the GIF the GIF, the person who calls it GIF.
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure, but I don't call it GIF because it sounds stupid, so I always call it GIF.
Yeah, it doesn't help that we have some kind of washing liquid here called GIF, don't we? But anyway, I'm a GIF man.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're a GIF man as well. We're going to call them GIFs. And my headline wouldn't have worked if it was GIF.
Yeah.
GIFs for GIFs.
So GIFs, GIFs for GIFs.
Yeah, it's like Linux is Linux, not Linux. No, it's Linux. No, it's Linux. It's Linux, not Linux. Because the guy that wrote it was called Linus. Right. And it was based on his name. Are you yawning?
No!
Yawning at me again. Yeah, his name was Linus. I forget the rest of his name, which is really awful.
Right.
But yeah, and that's why it's called Linux. But I always think it was called Linux when I'd only seen it written down. Anyway, Horizon Zero Dawn gift maker, and his Twitter name is @SunHeLegend, and he's a guy who's been making gifts for Horizon Zero Dawn. These gifts are awesome. Some of these gifts that he's made of Aloy running away from Thunderjaws, they're like clips from an action movie. He could have made sort of a blockbuster trailer with these gifts. They've been so good. I've seen a few of them over the last few weeks, and obviously Guerrilla Games Amsterdam has seen them too, because they've been so impressed with this guy's gifts that they're giving him the gift of flying him out to Amsterdam to go and see them.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool, isn't it? So, yeah, they've got in touch with him, and they said, yeah, come down to the studio, come and meet the guys, come and meet the developers. We love these gifts that you've done. All expenses paid. Trip to see us. Wow. And I think that's a really nice thing. I'm not sure where this guy's from, who's getting the trip, but yeah, it's just a really nice story.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. You imagine being noticed. You get like kind of obviously this guy is kind of deep into that, so he's kind of been he's kind of put a lot of his time, and then you get noticed by that developer so much, and they are kind of so in awe of what you've been doing with their game that they just kind of bring you on board.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's like, that is amazing. Come over here. We want to give you a hug.
That's really cool. Go give you a hug. I love it. They're just all these developers hugging this guy, and he's like, I just make
carrying
gifts.
Him shoulder high.
He's
like, it's only a gift. What are you on about?
You put the photo mode in.
Yeah, they're all saying, why don't we have a guy doing gifts? We could have saved this getting this guy out of here.
That's just so cool. You imagine kind of on these business cards, it'd be like gift maker, and then that's it. Gift extraordinaire.
Imagine that they give him a job, yeah, chief gift maker.
Superb. Right, the next piece of news is me, and still kind of with Sony, and still with exclusive. And Sony have revealed via the PlayStation blog that Uncharted: The Lost Legacy is going to be launching on August 22nd in the US and August 23rd in the UK. So, Lost Legacy is the single player I guess story add-on is probably the best way. It's standalone, isn't it? You don't need you don't need Uncharted 4. This is now a standalone title. It's a true Uncharted game, and it's like I say, it's coming in August 22nd, 23rd. It's going to be a standalone adventure. They have released that. They've also released a trailer that I'll stick in the show notes, which is quite a nice little kind of riverboat trailer showing Nadine and Chloe, who are the two protagonists in this game. And they have also brought out a price tag for it as well. Now, this game this add-on, which this standalone game, will be clocking in at $39.99 in the US, which kind of rough translation to today's currency rate is about £40. No, it is £33. So it's going to be roughly kind of a £30 title, and it will be coming out, like I say, in August. The interesting thing is that there was, when Uncharted 4 Thief's End came out, there was the chance to download and purchase kind of the almost a season pass, if you will, for this extra content. If you've done that, then you're kind of one of the lucky ones, because you will get this for free. So I think kind of at that time it was like the original pack was like $24.99, and that covered lots of things, as well as a standalone story add-on, and so that was like $24.99. So you will be getting this $39.99 game for the price that you have already paid, so which is quite nice. And it just shows that Sony are kind of honouring those people that have already pre-purchased and not asking you to stump up more money. So it also comes, if you bought the $79.99 deluxe edition of Uncharted 4, you'll also be getting it for free there. So that's quite cool. So coming August, so we've got some more Uncharted.
Yeah, I like the sound that this was at its inception was going to be DLC, but it obviously grew. Maybe the characters grew, or the story just grew large enough to warrant its own standalone adventure. I really love that.
Yes.
And then the fact that's even better is just the icing on the cake. Not only do we get more great Naughty Dog product, but the fact that they say to the guys that were salivating and pre-ordered because they love it so much, they say, well, that you showed us the love, so you get it for free. I really love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, bargain hunters alert. If you pre-order it on Shop 2 at the moment, you can get it for £26.86.
Wow. And also, if you pre-order, I guess this is probably digital copy only on PlayStation Store. If you pre-order, you will get a copy of the Jak and Daxter, the Precursor's Legacy, when it comes to PS4, as well as on August as well, the same day as this.
Same day, isn't it?
As this game, yeah. So that's going to be, I think, are they tarting it up? Is it a port? Is it a PlayStation 4 port of Jak and Daxter?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure. It's a bit of an anniversary thing for them, isn't it? Or is that the first game they developed?
I think it was. So, I mean, we're getting, what's the name, aren't we? We're getting Crash. The Insane trilogy is coming July, I believe. But yeah, I think the Precursor's Legacy is coming. I don't know if it's going to get kind of a Ratchet and Clank upgrade to the graphics, or if it's just going to be somewhere in between.
It looked amazing at the time. I'm sure looking at it now, I mean, in my mind's eye right now, it's in 4K at 60 frames. But I'm sure if we went back and looked at a video, it wouldn't hold up so well. I'm not sure if they're giving it an extra bit of polish or not. But yeah, this Shop 2 deal for £26.86 has got the DLC code included as well.
That's really cool.
So it's pretty good, isn't it? I'm looking forward to having a go at that in August. It was a great surprise, that, from E3 just gone. It really was.
No, that was the PSX, wasn't it? It was a PSX where they...
Oh, was it the PSX?
Yes,
sorry.
It was a PSX. Yeah. They opened with it. They opened with that kind of that trailer, and I was thinking, oh, this is add-on. This is Uncharted add-on. And then it was like, so... Well, I've just had a quick Google while I was chatting. It will be rendered at 1080p and support modern features like remote play and trophies.
Oh, brilliant. What's not to like?
What's not to like? So yeah, so there you go. Well, if you've got a link to that Shop 2, Daz, we stick that in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. I did just close it, but I can reopen in my closed tab with the wonder of Chrome and pop that in, because that's a good deal, that.
That's a really good deal. So that's Uncharted Lost Legacy, coming US 22nd of August and UK 23rd. Daz, next piece of news is with you.
More like the Lost Day. Why are we getting a day later?
I don't know.
Uncharted The Lost Day.
I don't know.
It's a Wednesday, that. We never get games on a Wednesday.
Why don't we get them on Tuesday, like everybody else? So I guess they're balancing out the servers.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. So yeah, the next piece of news is with me. Did you love the Commodore 64?
Yes, that was that question to me. I did. I was more of a specky guy, but yeah, I did like the Commodore 64.
I know you were. That's why it took you ages to say it, because you were thinking, nah, not really. I like my Spectrum better. I was a Commodore 64 guy. I feel like I'm in the minority now. Down my cul-de-sac, I'll have you know, the Commodore 64 ruled. But in sort of 30 years since then, it seems that actually most people had a Spectrum.
Right,
it shocks me because me and my little bubble of my mates, we all had Commodore 64s, and I love my Commodore 64 for so many reasons. I made friends because of my Commodore 64. You know, we had a common interest, and it was where I probably first started. I mean, I had machines before. I had 2600, but I think it was at the age that I was with my Commodore 64, and because in them days you had a machine for a longer. You know, I think I had my 64 for years. It's got a very special place in my heart. When I think about some of the games and when I hum the music, or if I pop on an old 64 game or something, it always makes me smile thinking about the good old days. And there's a guy who's doing a book about the Commodore 64. He's doing a Kickstarter, which I actually checked and hasn't failed yet. It's got 18 days to go.
Right.
And it's halfway funded, from what I can see. And he's making a book about the Commodore 64 called Commodore 64 for the Love of a Machine. This guy's called Andreas Wallström. I think he's from Sweden. And the Kickstarter is only going to take... Apparently, Kickstarter only can use your local currency. So it's going to be in Swedish currency, the how you pay, which is SEK, which I'm not sure what we call that. SEK? Do you know what the Swedish currency is called?
No.
But I'm Googling it now.
Euros.
Is it?
No.
Why is it saying SEK?
No, I'm joking.
Krona. It's the Swedish
okay.
krona. So Swedish, maybe SE means Swedish and K means krona. Anyway, Swedish krona is what he's dealing in here. And it's 400 krona to get the book.
Right.
Which he says comes in at around £36. What you get here is a hardback, 224-page, really glossy book, around 220mm by 307mm, with beautiful glossy pictures, in-depth interviews with the guys that created the Commodore 64, the VIC-2 graphics chip and the SID sound chip, which I'm sure a lot of people from back in the day will love, because there were some amazing tunes using that SID sound chip. You get in-depth people with some of the people that made some of the best games on there as well. You got scans, like Rob Hubbard did some of the best tunes ever on the Commodore 64, and they've got scans of his original music notes. They've got pixel art from both old and new games for the Commodore 64, and it shows pictures of these pages. They sort of open out as a double page spread with beautiful artwork of sort of all the games, all the artwork from the tapes, if you remember tapes, and from the creators of the games and the artists and things. It's got interviews with Tony Crowther, who made the game Monty Mole, which is I love that game. I still haven't completed it. I really need to complete that game. He made Blagger. I don't know if you remember Blagger. You're not going to remember any of these, are you? Because you're a specky guy.
Yeah, but I
Blagger.
think some of them were cross-platform, weren't they, as well? Because like Monty Mole was and things like that.
Yeah. I remember Off We Design Monty, I think, came out on the Spectrum as well.
Oh, that was awesome.
Ben Daglish, who made The Last Ninja, which was amazing. I remember looking forward to that. So excited about The Last Ninja, and the music for Last Ninja was just amazing. Bob Jans, I hope I've got that right. He was the creator of the SID sound chip and the 64. Chris Hulsbeck, who created the Great Guiana Sisters, Turrican, and R-Type. It says etc., but how can you etc. that? It's like they're just completely quality games. I work for Rainbow Arts. I used to love the games by Rainbow Arts. I wonder if that sort of ended up being someone that's here today. Dave Collier they talked to as well, who made Yi Kung Fu, Green Beret and Hypersports. And Dave Rowe, who did the cover art for Way of the Exploding Fist, Delta and Spin Dizzy. These games are all the games that I used to love as a kid.
Wow.
They're just amazing. So hopefully there's people out there that love those games too. And if you do, have a look at this Kickstarter. This book looks awesome. It just brilliant coffee table book. It also talks to a hacker. which is strange. Zoltan Kellerman, who was called Mr. Z Triad, and he apparently, I don't know this, but he's the most famous cracker on the Commodore 64 scene.
Oh, wow.
And it asks him, where is it? How he started out cracking games, the driving force behind the cracking, to what it was like to witness pig slaughtering at age 5. Yeah, I might edit that bit out. But yeah, it looks like a really beautiful book, really glossy and nice. And if you're a fan of the Commodore 64, it might be worth a look. And I hope it gets funded and wish Andreas well.
Excellent stuff. Superb. That sounds really cool. Like I say, it sounds like a great coffee table book.
Yeah, it really does look cool. My mate's bought a few of these, and I think you get your name in the back of the credits as well. And I was looking through some of them, and I think he's got one on the Amiga. And yeah, it's just really nice. And the way that it's tactile, you've got that thing. It's just really cool. So yeah, I'd recommend having a little look if you're a fan of the old 8-bit machines.
That's so cool. Oh, speaking of credits, I sent you a screenshot yesterday, didn't I? Because I found my name in the Yooka-Laylee credits.
Oh yeah, that was so cool, mate. Special
cool.
Thanks.
And it was really good because not only were we in the credits, I put Nicola in as well, but not only were we in the credits, we were just above Ollie Moss. The great Ollie Moss, who was obviously the graphics, the inspiration for Firewatch.
Oh yeah, I thought you said Ollie Murs for a minute.
No, bloody hell, no. The great Ollie Moss, who was kind of the graphics designer and the muse for Firewatch. So it was us, and then it was Ollie, and I was just like, oh, not only am I in there, but I'm there. I was quite chuffed.
There you go, sitting next to him.
Big greatness. But then, so then the next piece of news is with me, and this morning, Wednesday, started amazingly because there was a leak. There was a leak for the Star Wars Battlefront 2 trailer, and oh my lord, did this look good. Did you watch it? Did you have a look before they've actually taken it down, I think, now, but obviously, with the internet being the internet, you can find it kind of elsewhere, but I think the link I sent you to Kotaku, they've actually taken it down there. It says it no longer exists.
Yeah, I missed it. Sorry, I lost you for a minute because I was just so relieved that the leak wasn't your boiler again.
The ceiling in my kitchen, crying. No, I wouldn't be joyous waking up to that link. But anyway, so the debut trailer for Battlefront 2 kind of gone out a little bit early. There is rumours that this is going to be shown during its Star Wars celebration in Orlando this weekend. So that it was going to be shown kind of during then. What it did tell us was that we are going to, obviously what we know already is that we're going to have a single player campaign. So this really did kind of show a post-Endor empire. There was a stormtrooper with a helmet off, looking up at the sky and seeing the Death Star exploding. Spoiler alert at the end of it. Return of the Jedi, seeing it explode. It then went on to say that we, of course, are going to have multiplayer battles. One of the things that I really loved was that it showed Darth Maul. It showed Yoda. You saw Yoda holding a lightsaber. All you saw was his little green paws. And then you saw Rey from Force Awakens, and then Kylo Ren as well. So we basically had every single trilogy, like or hate those first ones, and I hate those first ones. But we had every single trilogy is being represented in this game, and it looked stunning. But my favourite bit of the trailer was after they showed Kylo Ren. It was very quick. It's a very quick trailer. They kind of went back to Hoth again, back to kind of around there. It could be Hoth, maybe it could be Starkiller Base, who knows? But they went back to Hoth, and there was a stormtrooper standing there, and a tauntaun just took him out, and you just heard that noise very quickly. It was like, and it just took him out, and I was like, oh yes, I love this. And then after that, it went off to space battles. So we had a couple of X-wings taking on a Star Destroyer, and it just kind of carried on like this. And then it also said about pre-ordering gives you the Jedi pack, and there was Luke and Rey and Kylo Ren, I think it was the third one in the image. And this looks, it looks so good. It looks so good. Obviously, it was all kind of pre-rendered, but it just looked absolutely superb. It's that thing that they say, which is this is in-game engine, but it's the kind of optimized game engine, not the playable game engine.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little caveat, that, isn't it? So I missed it, unfortunately. So was it fuzzy because it was a leak, or was it the proper thing?
No, it wasn't filmed. It was a proper thing. So no, it was the proper thing. It was 10,
it wasn't done on a mobile phone.
Yeah, it wasn't all crackly like a video.
What am I thinking of?
It was 1080p, and it was glorious, and it was like
cool.
But yeah, it's now. But like I say, hopefully. Because I'm thinking of this weekend, we're going to get our first look at The Last Jedi, so Star Wars Last Jedi. We're going to get our first look at that, because that's kind of the whole Star Wars celebration. There's a Q&A, which is called The Path to The Last Jedi. So, we expect to see a trailer, probably akin to the Chewie We're Home trailer that we got last time that this happened. So, keep your eye on the internet on Friday, because there's bound to be a Star Wars trailer.
Wow! So, did it impress you as much as? Can it have impressed you as much as that first Star Wars Battlefront 1 reveal? Because you sort of knew that they could do this now.
Oh, it still impressed me.
Did the trailer still impress you?
Yeah. I still sat there and watched it like 2 or 3 times over my breakfast this morning before I started work at about 7:30. I was all like, oh my god, and I was just like,
cool.
So it was just like I say, that the bit with the Tauntaun taking out the Stormtrooper just made me chuckle so much, because I just imagined kind of being on the back of one of those and just doing another snow battle.
And we'll just hear your Tauntaun war cry as you take us down. I think the improvements they could do. I think word is there's a single player.
Yes.
So hopefully that's going to be a good single player. Hopefully with a bit of character engagement and stuff like that. I think the other improvements that the community probably cried out for, and I would enjoy if they did, was make it a little bit like the old Star Wars Battlefronts. With like they did a little bit with the Death Star. So there was a bit of a sequence to it, like the infantry battle, and then taking to the ship, taking to the skies, battle there, take out a big ship or something, that sort of thing. Instead of just on the ground all the time. But it looks like there's space battles in there, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, but obviously we had space battles, didn't we? But it was sort of circled off in a separate play area. So few at first, anyway. Before the Death Star DLC. So hopefully that will get that right from the off. So I think if they can just do that, that's not much to ask, really, is it? And I think they're already looking like they've got the single player. So if they just make the multiplayer a little bit more, what's the word? Multi-leveled, multi-tiered then they've got it. And I mean, I love Battlefront. I think people said, it's a bit too simplified and all the rest of it, but it was great. I think it was great, and you could just have a go, and you could still be okay at it as well, because of the fact it was simplified. I think you still had a bit of a chance, even if you haven't played it for a while, and it never fails to stun graphically.
No.
Which never hurts with the Star Wars universe. Brilliant.
Absolutely. You're right. You can just jump into a game and you won't get nerfed, in the first 5 seconds, which you kind of do if you go into like Battlefield, or Call of Duty. You kind of Call of Duty, you kind of spawn in, you're dead. You spawn in again, you're dead because someone's sniping on a spawn point or something like that. So it really did it had that kind of pick up and playability of it.
Wow, it puts me in mind. Do you remember at EGX when we played it for the first time? And we were just grinning. And we were just like, oh wow, this is amazing. Not 2, obviously, about Star Wars Battlefront 1. And that was just so amazing. We queued for a while for that, and it was worth it.
Absolutely, and I want more of that. I want more of that. That kind of wave based as well.
Yeah, horde mode.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could only have 2 people in Star Wars Battlefront, but if you imagine if you could scale that up to 4, and that would be so much fun.
That would be absolutely fantastic. If you could have a horde mode, right, on a planet, and you do that, and say you complete 10 waves, and then you all go into starfighters and take off together as a team and have a star battle before descending on another area and doing a horde battle. Oh, that'd be cool. Anyway, I'm getting too excited. I should be on the design team, obviously.
Obviously. But it looked absolutely superb. I'll stick a link to the Kotaku article in the show notes, because it does show some screen grabs from that leaked, non-fuzzy trailer that was out this morning that seems to have gone. And I'll have a look around the internet to see if I can find, see if it's still kind of mirrored somewhere else.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. So that's it for our regular news. So why don't we just head over to the VR news desk for all the latest in VR.
VR Desk.
Yes, here we are again at the VR desk. I've reassembled the VR desk. It took a few hits last week.
It really did. It really did. It was a dark place.
It was a dark place. I ripped it apart after recording and threw it into the ether. But now it's regenerated and it's glowing and bright as always. Hooray for a new dawn of VR for the podcast. So what
like a today? Phoenix from the flames.
Like a phoenix from the flames, it is indeed. So what have we got? We've got some insights from a report that we've had published, and this is VR on the future. Some predictions from Greenlight Insights, in fact, and they've given us a report that predicts that the global virtual reality industry will be receiving $7.2 billion in revenues by the end of this year. So that's quite a sizable chunk of cash. They also reckon that the VR market growth will begin modestly. Well, I reckon we could have guessed that as well, looking at what's happened. But they say, after a modest start, it's going to grow into a major global marketplace by 2021, reaching, rather than still sizable, I thought, 7.2 billion, going up to 74.8 billion in global revenues by that time, by 2021.
Wow.
I know, wow. So they've come out with a quote that is as this: "We saw mixed results in the global VR industry in 2016. Initial sales volume by some high-end manufacturers didn't quite live up to the hype. But while PlayStation VR, Samsung Gear VR and low-cost headsets continued to gain traction." This is from Clifton Dawson, who's the CEO of Greenlight Insights. "There are turbulent times ahead, but our analysis points to VR achieving critical mass in many markets by 2019, building to a considerable global marketplace 5 years from now." They also went into some details about trends to watch for in 2017. So this is the stuff in the here and now.
Right.
They're saying look out for new VR headsets powered by Microsoft's Windows 10 operating system, which will spark demand by enterprise firms for VR-related hardware, software and services. And we already know that Microsoft have sort of given out their VR specs, if you like, for people to just build. So we'll see what happens with that. There's several different headsets that are sort of linked to Microsoft. And we also know, if you read the Gamer Sutra Q&A that I mentioned, that they are open to working with VR. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. I don't know if E3 is the right time for VR for them. I think it's more 4K. But in the future, with the power that they've got, don't see a reason why not. They could just have it that you can buy it from another provider and use it with their machine. Anyway, they also say that they'll get in 2017 the introduction of new hardware platforms from top PC manufacturers in late 2017. This will accelerate the availability of affordable headsets and VR-ready computers. And they also note the rising utilisation rates and forecasts of location-based entertainment centres, that's like your theme parks and things, that they'll become a $1.2 billion concern by 2021. There's another quote here from the guys. "Before spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on equipment, new users are turning to local-based entertainment centres to experience VR inexpensively and more immersively than they could with an in-home system. Mm-hmm. Niche accessories such as full haptic suits, sensory simulators, specialised controllers will find a home in these centres, as consumers will be less inclined to purchase expensive hardware. This represents a distinct market opportunity for VR content studios and hardware vendors." So they're sort of pitching that slow takeoff for the in-home, mm-hmm. but they see that eventually that's going to rocket. But in the shorter term, maybe you could say the wiser consumer would go and test it out in a VR theme park, and they're starting to pop up sort of globally now, really. There's one opening in Leeds soon, actually, but I can't remember the name of it. I might visit it because Leeds isn't too far from me, and that's where you wear the full haptic suit and stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'll find out some more about that, actually. I might let you know, Anthony. Maybe if you're in the area, we could go together and experience it. It's not open yet, but I think there's some guys that have been quite successful with those escape the room kind of things.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a next step for that, I think, really. So They're going to use their experience from that, and they're going to open this VR, a kind of a VR-cade or a VR experience. That's that word again. So that was some predictions for the future. Then there was another article that I saw. This was from the Wall Street Journal, and they said that Sony is going to start pushing its PlayStation VR virtual reality headset as a commercial device rather than a consumer one, after making slower than expected progress in the consumer arena. That's news to me. I thought they, couldn't make them quick enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they'd sold almost 1 million.
Yeah. Well, I think that was, they have sold almost 1 million, and the target that we've been given was that their target was to sell 1 million. So by February this year, they'd sold 915,000, which so it's pretty on track for getting 1 million out in the first 6 months, which I think was what the target was. Mm-hmm. But this article in the Wall Street Journal said that people familiar with the matter are saying that they're looking at diversifying into a commercial market. And it mentions again this location-based entertainment phrase that I'd only just come across in the last story, where they say Sony's video game wing has established a location-based entertainment unit tasked with leading the commercial VR charge and finding partners in various industries. Mm-hmm. So it looks like they're actively going out to find businesses or organisations that are interested in this location-based entertainment, this kind of theme park experience, whatever it might be. However, they where the consumer comes and pays for the infrastructure. Basically, you have the VR set up, and the customer comes and pays for it, like an internet cafe of old, I suppose, when the internet was too expensive to use at home. Mm. So you'll go and use someone else's VR stuff. So that's quite interesting. It's that they would be targeting like arcades and theme parks and things like that. I mean, we've already had a few rides that have popped up using VR. Like there's one at Alton Towers, for instance, and we've mentioned other ones sort of around the world. But it looks like Sony's going to go out and maybe start contacting these theme parks, arcades, etc., to maybe partner up with them. So that's quite interesting. Now we've got a quote here from Andrew House, and he said, because in the previous reports said that they were really happy with it, but he's got a quote saying you literally have people lining up outside the stores when they know stock is being replenished. But he's also said this. This is about the dangers of getting hyped up, and he said that certain voices within the company are keen to temper expectation. And he said this: it's the classic case in any organisation. The guys who are on the front end in sales are getting very excited, but you have to temper that with the other voices inside the company, myself among them, saying let's just be a little bit careful. So maybe it's just a little bit of caution that even though it's selling well, they just don't want to invest loads of money in making too many that don't sell. Maybe they're scared that the bubble's going to burst. Yeah. It'll be difficult to know till a few months have gone by. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not even a year in, are we? No. So it's strange because you can't get them. They're still hard to get hold of. They've sold on target, but that story says that there's some kind of caution, something holding Sony back. And I think a big indicator is what you said, Anthony. It'll be Sony's E3 and how much VR we see there, won't it? Will it be a Vita or will they push it? And that's going to be it's obviously going to be a big indicator of their confidence in it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Not long to go. It's a couple of months. We've also got the price to get an Oculus VR system just got a little bit cheaper, only a tiny bit. The reason being that Oculus have amended their minimum specs for using their VR unit, the Oculus Rift. It used to be that the minimum spec you needed was an NVIDIA GTX 1060. That was the lowest end graphics card that you could use. But recently, whether it's down to driver optimizations or some other technical gubbins that I'm not aware of, but they've done a reassessment. And now, on the minimum specs for the Oculus Rift, an NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti or an AMD Radeon RX 470 is all you need for entry.
Oh, right.
Which are reasonably cheap cards. still probably buy a console pretty much for that card. Not a Scorpio. But, you could probably get an Xbox One S or something. But the price of entry for Oculus Rift has just got a little bit cheaper. Those cards are pretty inexpensive. Good performance. You get good performance for a mid-tier gaming PC with one of those, I'd imagine. You just got the rest of the PC and the Oculus to buy. Yeah. So that's quite interesting. Next, a little bit of information on where Apple are on the VR, in the VR arena.
Oh, yes.
And this is from Road to VR, and they're citing TechCrunch, who talked to Phil Schiller last week. He's Apple's Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing. And he was talking to TechCrunch, and they had a chat with him about, I think, really, essentially the power of the most powerful Macs. That's the Mac Pro, isn't it? Their sort of desktop Mac. Mm-hmm. The Mac Pro. And recently, it seems that Apple has admitted that the current Mac Pro, which looks beautiful, I've never seen one before. It's like a cylinder.
Yeah, it's like a little like a little bin, isn't it? It's like a little black bin. But
don't want to make something that looks like a bin. I hadn't thought of that till you said it now. I could just imagine lobbing my bits of paper in there.
But it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a lovely piece of kit. It's just about to get a refresh. Actually, I think that's going this year they're going to refresh it because it's been out for a while.
That will be interesting because he said. Well, Phil Schiller says they're in the process of what we call completely rethinking the Mac Pro.
There you go.
Yeah, because I think they're getting some demand from people that want to use VR on a Mac.
Right.
So the cylindrical Mac Pro was introduced in 2013. So yeah, that's been out for a while then, hasn't it?
Yeah. But if you go for like an 8-core one, that's roughly, it's almost about $4,000.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit more actually, but maybe it was $6,000. But they're really expensive. But something to do with the way that Apple have designed the architecture, the graphics cards just can't hit the same power as a PC.
Right.
They just don't have that grunt. I think they're amazing for doing the design tasks, that you would associate with an Apple product. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, they just can't seem to pack that punch that. Or even that the NVIDIA cards can do, that the big AMD cards can do. And you can't just put one in, can you? Because it's all very proprietary with Apple.
Yes.
It's their stuff. Do you remember me saying ages ago about what Palmer Luckey said? He said, we'd love to work with Apple for VR if they could just bring out a powerful enough graphics card. He just said it as bluntly as that ages ago. So they said that they feel that they've designed themselves into a bit of a thermal corner. They've designed a system that they thought, with the kind of GPUs at the time, they thought they needed this sort of GPU, and a 2 GPU architecture would work. And I think that's what this system has. But people aren't really optimizing the software to work on 2 cards, I think.
Right.
Or a 2 GPU architecture, so they're kind of losing that. So yeah, they're saying basically they're going to rethink the whole thing. There's certain scientific loads that are very GPU intensive, and they want to throw the largest GPU at it they can. There are heavy 3D graphics applications or graphics and compute mix loads. Those can be in VR. Those can be in certain kinds of high-end cinema production tasks, where most of the software out there has been written to target those. Doesn't know how to balance itself well across multiple GPUs, but can scale well across a large GPU. So it sounds like they're going to try and remedy that, probably by stripping the idea of a dual GPU and putting one beast of a single one in.
Yes, yeah.
So you say that there's a refresh coming up. This article says a major refresh won't come until sometime after 2017.
Oh, right. I thought it was going to be coming this year.
Yeah, well, maybe...
I guess that's the thing with Apple. There's so many speculative websites that say, all this and this, and this is what the iPhone 9 looks like, and so it's... I normally kind of go and don't read those, but when I saw an article, it was only last week, I'm sure, I saw that kind of Mac Pro was getting a refresh. I was like, oh, hello, and I had a bit of a read.
Ah, right. Well, yeah, this is from their head of marketing, and he's saying they're 2017 for a major refresh. Maybe they have a minor refresh that comes out earlier. I don't know. So it certainly seems they're taking on board the fact that they need to be able to crunch more power, and I think they thought that they'd got it sussed by doing what kind of is an SLI solution, but that's not working. And many VR games, I suppose, or VR software isn't optimized to use 2 GPUs, and I think some games aren't either. So, yeah, it sounds like maybe they just backed the wrong horse there, unfortunately. But it looks like it'll get sorted out, and Mac people will be able to use VR happily. Be pretty cool, but it'd be an expensive way to do it. Talk about saving a bit of money on the 1050. If you're going to buy one of these Mac Pros, like you say, it's like £4,000.
Wow,
my goodness me! And finally, how about playing a game of HoloLens on your HoloLens?
Ooh.
So this is Lemmings on the HoloLens.
Oh, right, okay, that's quite cool.
Yeah, it is. This is from a Canadian company called Globacore. And they have created a version of Lemmings which is free if you've got a HoloLens. It's free to get. And this allows, if you're familiar with Lemmings, it allows you to play the old classic game Lemmings, where the Lemmings drop down and need to get from point A to point B safely. The Lemmings will all file across your furniture in your home. So the program will allow the HoloLens to I suppose the HoloLens understands all the furniture and stuff. The Lemmings will start at point A. They'll drop down onto the couch, and then you've got to safely navigate them over to the end point, wherever that might be in your room. And it's really cool. There's a little video of it which I'll put in the show notes. The Lemmings will drop out of the hatch, and then the person who's wearing the HoloLens has to put down stop Lemmings and redirect them from his sofa, and then they all drop off the sofa and carry on, and avoiding the hazards. It puts some hazards around as well, sort of augmented on top of the reality, and it's just really cool.
That's so cool. That's really fun. Imagine if you were a kid and you saw that kind of around your room. That's amazing, isn't it?
It's cool. When this technology gets a little bit smaller and stuff, you could imagine, like, anywhere you are, just tinkering around playing a game like this. Wherever you are becomes the level, which I quite like. But yeah, this video is great. I'm not sure how far the Lemmings can fall before they perish, but he directs the Lemmings round the corner of his corner sofa, and then when they get to the end, he builds a little bridge. So they all walk out, and the bridge then meets where the table is, and then he stops them, and then they all start turning left, and then he brings another little bridge, and then they go onto the table, and it's just it's amazing. When I think that I used to play Lemmings in the old days, and that now this is a possibility, it's quite amazing. So if you're fortunate enough to have a HoloLens, which I think is only a commercial product at the moment and quite expensive, then you can get this for free to make up for it.
That's just so cool. Worth the entry price alone.
Definitely worth that £3,000 just for Lemmings.
just for Lemmings. Awesome. That's fantastic. And that's about it for this episode. So as always, a huge thank you very much for listening in. Don't forget you can keep up with this at gamersofthespark.com. That's where we'll be sticking all of the show notes that we've been compiling. There's lots there. I have actually found that Star Wars Battlefront 2 trailer, so that's in the show notes. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter. We're at Lost Spark Pod. You can also find us on the YouTube, and also on the Gamers of Lost Spark PS4 community and Xbox One Club. Daz, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can get me as Wythermator on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch, DazAgamer on YouTube, and at DazWhittam on Twitter.
Excellent. And for me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch. I'm also PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network and Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersofthespark.com. Also, if you're feeling generous, please leave us a review. That's about it. I'm going to go and find that island now.
Ah, yeah.
Zelda Island. I want to be naked on Eventide Island. Right. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye. Gonna give me another Tauntaun?
Boom! Awesome.